Warm welcome to all of you who have gathered here, and also a warm welcome to all those of you who have joined us online this morning. So 10 years of CSR is the theme of the conclave this morning. To begin the proceedings, may I now request the dignitaries to take their place on the dais. Let me begin by requesting Mr. Krishna Swamy, Founder and Chief Patron CSR Spark, Honorable Thiru Justice Mr. N. Seshasai, Shri K. Pandirajan, Mr. Nikhil Pant, Shri URC Devarajan, Mr. K. Ravi, Dr. K.S. Ravichandran, and Group Captain R. Vijayakumar. Come on, we are still early in the morning. Let's welcome them with a round of applause. Thank you. Even those watching us online should feel that there's something happening here, right? So let's applaud these dignitaries who have taken their time off today to be with us this morning. Every good thing should start with divine blessings. May I now request all of you to rise for the Tamil Thai word.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் மதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டனிதில் எக்கணமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு திரை நுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம் வியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
Continuing with our prayers for this wonderful event, may I request the dignitaries to light the Kuttuvilakku and start the proceedings, please. Thank you. Thank you everyone. Thanks dignitaries for this wonderful honor. Ladies and gentlemen, well begun is half done. We are commencing our proceedings formally now. Mr. R.S. Krishna Swamy, Founder and Chief Patron, CSR Spark, is a postgraduate in mechanical engineering and retired from business in 2016. Formerly, he was a member of Rotary Club as well. He is currently a founder of CSR Spark a platform to facilitate all stakeholders in the CSR environment to meet the Life Member Institute of Directors and Certified Corporate Director Visiting Faculty Institute of Directors is also been certified by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs for his CSR work. May I now request him to deliver the welcome address and set the context for the conclave.
Good morning, everyone. Morning. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you on behalf of Team CSR Spark and also on behalf of MMA to this wonderful learning session today. It's a true learning session. You can make it out by the content of the crowd itself. It is not just getting people here, getting people who matter here. A warm welcome to all of you. I take privilege in welcoming our chief guest, Honorable Thiru Justice N. Seshashayi. Welcome, sir. And next we have Mr. Pandirajan. He's 2 years senior to me in the college. Welcome, Pandirajan. Just called him up. I told him, Pandirajan, please come over. என்னப்பா பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கிறேன்னாரு வந்து பாருங்க அப்படின்னா that's what he is here. And another close friend, Mr. Devarajan. Welcome, Mr. Devarajan. He wouldn't like any formalities from my side, but the occasion demands so. That's it, both of them. That's it. And of course, Mr. Nikhil Pant, the leading trainer in CSR throughout the country. Very difficult to get him. And he says, always I'm with CSR Spark whenever you call him. That's how we have him here. Mr. K. Ravi, he is from Roots Group of Companies, chartered accountant. He is handling a session today. Welcome, sir. And a very close friend now, Dr. K.S. Ravichandran. Welcome, sir. Welcome. No, there should be a reason to conduct any event like this. It's not just doing an event. What is the purpose of doing an event? The CSR law has been in place for nearly 10 years now. 2014, April 1st it started. There have been several amendments, notifications, circulars coming around. Very important ones have been there. And what we do at CSR Spark is purely advisory on a honorary basis. We are very clear. You register into our website also, it is free of cost. But you get your information whenever it matters. What prompted us to do this? Because last 2-3 months or 4 months, we've been receiving too many calls from NGOs. Sir, I need to get money, where to go, how to go. They are not aware of certain developments which have happened in the CSR spectrum. So we thought we should have an event on CSR. We had one in Coimbatore on 5th of August, well received. Same team was there. Very interesting also. And so the basic event today is, I will be handling the current scenario, what it is, and what are the important points to be taken note of in the existing legislation. Slightly I'll be touching around brushing. When the boss is here, I should talk less. So Nikhil is there. He will take you through the entire spectrum of CSR. That is there. That is something. Then we have Mr. Ravi giving you a very important aspect of accounting practices for non-profits. It is not just that the non-profits should know, the corporates who are here also should know how their partner non-profits should operate regarding their accounts. That is also very clear. In both aspects, when we talk to the corporate, the NGO cannot just keep his ears closed. When we talk to the NGO, the corporates cannot keep their ears closed. Both are mutually, you have to work together. It's not that easy. That's one thing. So he'll be there. Finally, the last session will be on best practices in implementation. We have Srinivasan Services Trust, Mr. Rajaram. He's yet to come. He'll be joining us. And MMA themselves are doing, are an implementing agency, and they will be presenting their part. And we have Prem, please, Bumblebee, very young entrepreneur startup, and he'll be presenting this event today. And one unique way what we have done today is you need not be crooning onto the screen to take a look at the presentations. Everything is there on our web portal, www.csrspark.org. You go there, recent events, there is one section. You can download the presentations right now. It has been, in fact, those who have registered earlier, I have sent them a mail also so that you can come prepared with your questions. It's more like a classroom session, giving a textbook, then explaining here, taking class here. That's how it is going to be. So before I wind up, I'd like to introduce my patrons who are here, Mr. Venkatesh Narayan Swamy, Mr. Chandrasekhar, and Mr. P.P. Subramaniam, three of them, of course. And if I fail, if I don't welcome our TNERC chairman, Mr. Chandrasekhar, welcome, sir. A classmate of mine, I told him that he has to come and he's here. And special welcome to all of you. I don't think you'll be able to move out of this hall till the evening. Okay, that's fine. And I'd like to thank Captain for partnering with us. I know it is slightly on the other side because both of us are partners. We need not thank one another. Anyhow. So thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Krishnaswamy, for setting the context. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nikhil Pant is a former Chief Program Executive, National Foundation for CSR, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, comes with over 3 decades of experience in implementation, training, advocacy, grant management, strategy and policy formulation for development programs. Of course, there are so many things to his credit which you can see on the screen. Today is a special day. He's compiled a CSR manual. So we'll request the dignitaries on the dais to release the manual and followed by a few words from Mr. Nikhil Pant as well about the manual. May I have the manuals, please? Yeah, they have been given a copy of the manual. Yeah, please. Ladies and gentlemen, a comprehensive manual. You'll all appreciate how much effort goes into it, putting something like this together. I request all the dignitaries to hold a copy for the photo op. Yeah, let's give him a round of applause once again. Phenomenal work. A lot of work has gone into it to compile this manual, and it's ready reckoner for all of you to go back and see what is CSR all about. So may I now request Mr. Nikhil Pant to say a few words about the manual.
Thank you so much, Group Captain, and I'm again very honored to be here at the Madras Management Association, which seems to be like a temple of learning, and every time I visit I find a very, very focused audience. And of course to Mr. Krishnaswamy for CSR Spark to ignite this spark on CSR. And since I've been part of the team that mandated the legislation and we were part of the team that rolled it out from the ministry, for us this 10th year is very, very important. And while I have a detailed session later on, I would just like to tell all of you that this manual is like a Bible. I've compiled all important Gazette notifications if you see the content, and I will just take a minute so that you can browse it when we are going through. This is the contents page if you see. This includes right from the law to the rules, to the amendments, to the frequently asked questions, and towards the end, what I have done from my side is to prepare this Excel sheet. This is on page number 65. I will tell you more about it in my session because this tells you how CSR spending has to be actually done on the cost sheet. because CSR is all about spending. And if you do not know where to build what activity, then you are heading for disaster in terms of your audits. So that is a very important piece which we thought we will compile. And thank you once again, Mr. Krishnaswamy, and look forward to the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pant. I'm sure the manual will serve as a fantastic reference document for all those who are here. Mr. URC Devarajan is the Managing Director, URC Constructions Private Limited. He is a past Chairman CAI Erode and Managing Director URC Constructions. Around 37 years of corporate experience in the field of construction and infrastructure development. He has established URC Gurukulam, a skill development school for construction workers, which led to the formation of a new initiative, Labour Home. So he is also the co-founder and vice chairman of Tex Valley Erode. May I now request him to come and address the audience, please.
வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன். Respected Chief Guest, Justice Sri Seshasai and Mr. Pandirajan, KSR, RSK and Mr. Ravi, Mr. Nikhil Pant and Mr. Captain Vijay Kumar, with the promise that we will become a member in MMA in Chennai, and I will start my talk. It's a great opportunity for me to speak in this forum. This is the first time I am coming to this facility. I mean, like Krishnaswamy and Nikhil Pant had set the context and the reason for this purpose for this interaction or meeting. Like we are known in our town as a social workers and a company which is there to help people. That's how our father, who has started the company in 1956, has initiated us. That's how I can say the purpose of life is to help people. The means of life is to be in business. Many of you who are in business, who are helping NGOs, are of the opinion that's why you are here on a Saturday morning. It's nice to see so many people taking interest to come and participate. But like Nikhil Pant said, 10 years have passed, but for centuries in India, the dharmic way of living is continuing, but there are a lot of questions raised, or we are challenged to relook. Is it the way to live? Is it the way to do business? Are we in the right track? Many people, after living a great life, are really challenged to think, have you lived a life meaningfully? Because you have not earned, you have not made this, you have not created properties like this. What did you do all these years? When we go and say as a construction company of 67 years to certain people, they say you are there for 67 years but you are only here. We say we are happy at that place. So the context is, how are we going to continue this thought process of helping others and continue to do it with happiness and a kind of satisfaction. Also, suppose we go and put money in the Tirupati Hundi, you don't have a say how the money should be used. They will use it as they like. Any temple for that reason. Yes, we all have our own thought process, or we are tuned to do it like that. But this CSR, particularly to NGOs, with the help of Nikhil Pant, Krishnaswamy, they are trying to set a model for how these funds are going to be used. I was asking Mr. Nikhil whether is there an accreditation process. I am an NGO, I do everything properly, I do wonderful things, but when I go to a new organization for a help, an unknown organization, there may be a kind of reservation or a hesitation to help that organization, because they may be fearing that whether this organization is a righteous organization to participate and support. So I feel a day should come where, like any other, we are all getting a rating or something like that, NGOs should also get that kind of a rating or a grading or whatever way. Mr. Nikhil, Krishnaswamy, all of you can work and help NGOs, because there are wonderful NGOs. We are part of some of the NGOs. A young boy at Erode, he runs an organization called Akshayam Trust. His dream is to make India a beggar-free India. He is working for the last 10 years, rehabilitated close to 11,000 people. And we are all part of that. On 23rd of this month, we are going to lay the foundation stone for a new facility in a 1.8 acre, which is going to become a model facility for the country. Even the Secretary of the Social Welfare has called him and discussed with him for 6 hours. He has written like this, he has released a manual, why a person is becoming a beggar, at what age, under what circumstances, how do we help them. So it's a very challenging thing, and he has, the beauty of it is he has 400 volunteers, youngsters working under him. Similarly, there was one more organization called Sai Kripa. Many such organizations are there, but still it is a very different one where they are helping any age group between morning 8 to evening 6 o'clock. They help 180 mentally retarded people to be in their campus. They have created a new campus. It's a very challenging thing. A young lady is doing that. But when they go for help, they are struggling. So, but at the same time, there are organizations who has good amount of resources who want to support. So how do we connect these kind of minds? And the other challenge in education and in healthcare, great trusts have been formed by the forefathers. The trusts were run by them with a pure philanthropic mind. But of late, when they want to modernize, improve, or the youngsters, when they have a different mindset to make it in a different way, so it goes for a beating. So how these things can still sustain and continue their services? Because these are all thoughts which has to be debated, we have to discuss, and we have to help people to sensitize themselves. Because when we say certain things are not happening in the way it has to happen, we have to do more good things. ஒரு துளி விஷம் இருந்தால் 100 குடம் தண்ணி ஊற்றினா தான் அந்த விஷம் வந்து காலியாகும். அப்போ how do we do good things? That's how, as a businessman in a forum like this, I feel you all have to become center of influence to make more people to understand this and come forward to become part of this noble thing of helping as many people as possible. Yes, we are progressing, we are growing, and we are developing, but the pace at which we are growing and the pace at which we are able to inclusively carry the fellow brothers and sisters of our nation is not happening as it has to. So this is a time where we can equally discuss that, the impact of all these things. This is my thought which I want to share. I thank MMA, Mr. Krishnasamy, and all of you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Devarajan. Purpose of life is to help others, and business is just a means, is what he said. Thank you so much for this wonderful line. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even know whether I have to introduce this next gentleman who's coming to speak to us, Mr. K. Pandiyarajan, because I don't know anybody in this hall who needs an introduction of Mr. K. Pandiyarajan, but it's my opportunity and I will not miss it. Mr. KPR, as is fondly known, is a former state minister for Tamil official language, art, culture and archaeology. He was also holding responsibilities for school education, youth and sports departments earlier. So he is currently the chairperson of the New Age HR Services Company, CIEL HR. And KPR keenly believes in the fundamental principle of empowering at all levels and is actively involved in the CSR activities that focus on empowering children, women and youth through education, healthcare and livelihood. May now invite Mr. Pandiyarajan to come and address the audience, please.
Dear friends, such a pleasure and privilege to address a set of people, companies with a heart and NGOs with strong governance. That's what I was told when Krishnasamy called me for this event. I said, who am I addressing? So he said, yeah, you are going to address companies with a strong CSR focus and NGOs with a strong governance, is what he told me. And I thought I'll spend a few minutes with you. Thanks for the opportunity. Respected Honorable Justice Seshayaji and my dear friend U.R.C. Anand, one person whom I've always regarded so well. அவங்களோட அந்த ஒளிரும் ஈரோடு, I think it's a very sustainable CSR model where every time I go there's some more additions to the number of companies he has been able to integrate in this ஒளிரும் ஈரோடு, and I think it's a phenomenal kind of ஒளிரும் ஈரோடு. That's the model where many corporates have come together. They make a predetermined commitment and they kind of ensure that the priorities are set together. And in my view, that's the most sustainable collective philanthropy initiative, in my view. And respected Mr. Nikhil Pant, I just glanced through the kind of work that he has put out. It's very timely that you need coaches for CSR. I mean, often I see corporates, even well-meaning corporates, struggling to do one, compliance with the Companies Act, which got revised in 2013. And in that, the do's and don'ts and stuff like that. And of course, the NGOs who often tend to tune their objectives in line with where the funding comes. Often, sustainability for an NGO is such a challenge. I used to run we founded an institution called CSR, a Confederation of Indian Organizations for Service and Advocacy, along with my dear friend, Mr. P. N. Devarajan. You know, we struggled for almost 20 years, you know, to run this network of NGOs. Kind of, we saw the pleasures and pains of being an NGO. We used to run 3 NGOs, Swarnamal Education Trust, Mafa Foundation, and of course, CSR. And I understand the struggles of an NGO in terms of making something sustainable. The dream is there. Devarajan sir spoke about that young boy with a dream in his heart to change India in a certain way. And all of us who start NGOs start with, most of us, start with a strong vision and everything. But at the end of it, there's a certain kind of dilution which happens, compromises which get struck, and often the original vision gets completely distorted. Almost like the case of the entrepreneurs who start with a certain vision to build the future Reliance or the future Tata company. And along the way, you do meander along in terms of what to do, what to create. Is this what I wanted to create, kind of a thing. Having been in the shoes of both these, I deem it a pleasure to spend a few minutes with you. Let me also recognize Ravi, Krishnasamy, and of course, a host of my friends who have come here, Venkatesh, and everybody. So, first I wanted to address, you know, when I looked at what is the corporate social responsibility, always I believe it's also enshrined part of the law, you know, when they crafted the Companies Act. You know, what business you are in is the most important corporate social responsibility. You can't keep making cigarettes and BDs and at the end of it, give your 2% contribution and say, I'm a CSR company. You may match all the, what the law says, 5 crore PAT, 1,000 crores revenue and 500 crores net worth or whatever they have. But at the end of the day, if you end up actually making a product or a service which actually contributes to the destruction of the society, you can't be saying that I am a responsible corporate citizen. So in my view, what you do in terms of product and service is the first component of CSR. The second component of CSR is how you do what you do. I make a product, I offer a service. How do I do that? There are 2 important movements in the management theory, which I think, in my view, distill out the how of you run a company. One is, of course, this movement, what is called as DEI, which has become now fashionable because now there are VCs and PEs who will give you a two ticks if you are a DEI compliant organization. There are, PEs which have got formed recently, which are completely focused on sustainability. My friend Anita runs one thing called Athena Capital, which only funds this. And 10 years back, the movement towards patient capital started. Patient capital as in, they'll wait for you to make money after a long time, but they'll patiently wait, not the vulture capitalists, which is what venture capitalists got branded at some point in time. When I first went into venture capital in the year 2000, this was in vogue. Often people will scare you. Why are you going and taking money from a venture capital? All your things will get distorted towards earning for them rather than you earning based on keeping their money as the base. Now I think things are evolved a lot more, with things like DEI, which is diversity, equity and inclusion, which are things which for a long time in this country we've been struggling in the corporate world. Now I think it's almost like treat the poison with poison kind of a thing. Now they are saying put DEI into it, you will get funding only when you are DEI compliant kind of a thing. And sometime back this wave of ESG was happening, environment, social and governance kind of a wave. So I really hope that some of these waves get owned up with this simple model of CSR, where you say that, what do I do? How do I do what I do? Am I doing it, in a way it's sustaining the society that we want to build here. The kind of vision all of us have for India is well known. I mean, what kind of an India we want to build. Or the way you run your company consistent with this vision of India. That all of us hold sacred to ourselves. Okay, so these two acronyms may just be acronyms to be put up in the wall or reflected in the annual report. But I think a large section of the new corporate India, especially the youngsters with a fire in their heart who are driving the startups today, I see in them a lot more consciousness of these two things. So how you do what you do. And the third part is the kind of competencies which get built in your organizational DNA. Are you offering it for the larger good of the society? What C.K. Prahalad, one of my mentors, he used to talk about, when he spoke about core competency of an organization, he actually in the next book talked about the bottom of the pyramid, which talks about, what kind of a product or a service that you offer to the society, and you can make money at the bottom of the pyramid. It's a very, very desi, very, very CSR kind of a concept, which you apply to business strategy, in my view. So, what kind of core competency that you really have, whether it's pro bono work done by the Big Four in terms of India's different challenges that we have. I saw one of the McKinsey reports on the skill development initiative, which in my view was phenomenal, which they done without much of expectations. And this pro bono offering of skills and competencies by organization is, in my view, one of the very important aspects of this whole thing. Or like a company like us, as some of them were finding it very difficult to introduce me, and I think it's because also I had a 10-year stint in politics. After 24 years of working in the HR domain, going to politics for 10 years and coming back without stigma of any kind is something which the corporate brethren don't recognize often. It's very, I remember even at that time, my NGO brethren was not very happy because I was running a NGO, Swarnamal Education Trust, which had almost 150,000 women in the self-help group movement. And at that time, I was also a director in the Women Development Corporation when I decided to enter into electoral politics at that point in time. See, because somewhere I had a faith that after these four aspects of CSR, there is another one which is advocacy, where you are able to kind of either support honest politicians or be a honest politician yourself. And I don't think there's any issue I had about it, that I had a 10-year unstinted, unstained, unstigmatized kind of a political contribution. And I had the strength to put my suit back, come back to the corporate world and run a company to the public issue now, which is what I'm doing currently. To me, okay, I may see politics in a certain way. I don't think it should be something which is untouchable. Though both the corporate sector and the NGO sector think that, okay, that is like not on, that is something which is a domain. You go there, you will get stuck. You will never be able to come back. Which is what right now my intent is to prove that wrong, that you can come back and you can run a company. We are now a 1,350 crore company now, and we are now qualified in the CSR bracket back again after, 10 years of being in the active politics, running a ministry for 5 years. I've been able to do that in my view. That's one point I want to leave behind you. These are three universes: the NGO universe, the corporate universe, and of course the political universe. But I think this idea that you cannot move from here to there to here kind of a thing is something I will question. In fact, I've consciously encouraged many of my NGO friends. Arvind Kejriwal is a classic example. He came from the NGO world. He was from the government world, income tax, moved into the NGO world, and of course came back to the political world. Now he's nicely stuck there. But, one of the perspectives I want to add to you is this, okay. CSR, in my view, has all these four components. The fourth component is what you do with the fruits of your labor. I run a company, I have earned a profit. With that 2% of the profit, I put it into a trust, put it into or support an NGO. And through that, what I end up doing. But even this lowest form of CSR, in my view, if in India, it has meant that 1,25,000 crores between the year 2014 to 2021. That's the kind of money which has come in through the Companies Act defined section 125 or whatever. When that changed, that is the kind of money within 7 years has come into the CSR system. And within this, almost half of it has come through the formal NGO sector. To my mind, this is a phenomenal change which was brought in the year 2013 by the Congress government, one of the very few things which the later government continued implementing. Okay, in my view, I think it's a phenomenal thing. Yeah, it can be improved a lot more. The introduction in 2021 of the key aspect of inspection, reporting of a certain kind, impact assessment, as they used to call. I think it's a good movement forward. But in my view, the NGO sector evolution also needs to happen simultaneous to this, okay, where, as was mentioned earlier, the kind of NGO reporting, the kind of regulation of the civil society organizations, as they call, need to happen a lot more stronger. And the self-regulating institutions need to happen a lot more among the NGO sector. And I think that responsibility is with you, to create, because most of the corporates in India, at least the 300 odd corporates who have been studied in this report, where, they have NGOs of their own, like we have a MAFA Foundation, like we have a Swarnamal Education Trust. I'm sure your CSR is involved in many NGOs which either directly get controlled by the organization or collectively get controlled by, say, 80 companies like the Olirumi Road has. So corporates have tremendous influence over creation and support of the NGO sector in the country. In a way, non-government organizations often get called as corporate NGOs. Okay, often. And should be so, should be not so, it's not a question. The question is that it is so currently. So I think the corporates in some sense have a responsibility for creating this self-regulatory body for NGO sector, which I attempted in a small way through CSR, and I'm sure there are many, many attempts I see happening. But I think it's very important to create that self-regulating body, like the ICAI regulates the CAs, the ICSA regulates the company secretaries, the Institution of Engineers tried to regulate the engineering profession, failed miserably. But I think this is one professional evolution of NGOs, will need this leg of self-governing institutions. And maybe if I ever come back to power, I would probably create one, a charter, the chartered NGO kind of a thing. I would really, really like that to happen. Thanks a ton for the opportunity. Have a great day of learning. And I love to work with CSR Spark from a corporate point of view, from a governance point of view. May CSR Spark spread its radiance all across India, not confined to Kungu Belt or to Chennai or Tamil Nadu or whatever. May your radiance spread far and wide. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You said not only what you do, but how you do what you do is also important to start this CSR. That's the takeaway. Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Justice N. Seshasai is the current judge, Madras High Court. Joined the Tamil Nadu State Judicial Services as a district judge in 2004, and he was posted as a trainee district judge at Changalpet. A lot of things to his credit, as we know. In 2011, he was posted at Coimbatore, served as the principal district judge at Coimbatore and then at Salem. A native of Nagarkoil originally, he was born in 1963 at a village in backwards Alipi, and from there you can see his journey. His other interests include fine arts, cricket and Indian philosophy, prefers books on philosophy, history and jurisprudence. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome with a round of applause Honorable Justice N. Seshasai for his address.
Good morning, all. I consider that I am the odd man out in this group. Everybody has got something to speak about management, and I've got nothing to offer to management. My eldest brother, the thing is this way, my eldest brother was a faculty in IIMA for 30 years or whatever. He's all about management. I am all but management. My sense of management starts with one realization. I never not even managed my advocate's office, because in a small advocate's office in a place like Nagarkoil with 2-3 juniors or few juniors, it's all about what are the things to do, electricity bills, buying stationery. Even I have delegated that to my staff, my clerk, because I always felt, if these things can be taken care of by somebody else, I can possibly read something very useful. That used to be my mindset. Strange was the designs of life that I was appointed as a registrar of a high court. And somebody who never thought of even managing my own family. I was here to manage about 400-500 staff and some 12-15 judges at a time. And I enjoyed the drama. It was wonderful. That sense of realization at that time had was only one. I'm not above my staff who opens a door for a visitor. That realization was very important to me. And that realization possibly have contributed in a way as to why I am here today. I'm not going to talk very honestly, very honestly. I am quite opposed to the idea of 80G charity and 135 charity. I ask here, not here. So Nikhil has indicated, of course, he necessarily had to educate because the system requires it, not that Mr. Nikhil requires it. System requires it so that even if you want to do charity, just don't ask here, also ask here. That's what he is going to say that. I suppose so. But CSR to me, and so far as Mr. Pandyarajan is concerned, I always felt, I've heard few of his speeches earlier in something on the television, I always felt, this man is all but a politician, and why is he here? And at last he is here, where he should belong to. And coming back to CSR, corporate social responsibility. Let me take the middle word, yes. Yes makes a lot of, and the corporate social responsibility is all about moving from one yes to another yes, from self to the society. From self to society, the one aspect that needs to govern us, that we need to carry, occupy our conscience and consciousness all the time is compassion. Therefore, for me, it is not about spending. It's not about spending. Mr. Pandeyarajan highlighted that why it is important for you to, what kind of an industry you have and how you are going to spend it. So at one level, it is the kind of industry you run and the kind of investment you make towards CSR. Both are important, but we are all aware to one fact. Literally, the liquor industry is running the welfare schemes here. So therefore, this is a huge contradiction. There's a huge contradiction, but then how are you going to make the inverse thing happening? I don't know. Here, I would rather appeal that we need lot of introspection and try to tell the people, this is where the problem comes. One of our friends this morning said, we don't have the space to speak or whatever. This is the issue. I cannot speak. When you cannot speak, when you are only going to look at the laptop on the cell phone and add some few columns, debit, credit, ATG, auditors, 135, ROC, is there not a world beyond that? A world absolutely, where, as Tagore said, where the mind is free. When we are going to live fearlessly. This is, to me, is absolute empowerment. Therefore, moving from self to the society, first marked with compassion, second, empowerment. Empowerment is not to, you need to understand where you are, but still you need to work towards your way. You see a football game, there will be walling somewhere, one stage, everybody will be, standing shoulder to shoulder, but still somebody scores the goal. For him, the goalpost may not even be visible, but still he goes to score. Therefore, it is not about fear, but trying to squeeze this little space and try to do what best can we do. Mark this. This is very important. I'll come to this a little later, what best can we do. Now, for me, it all starts with individual responsibility. I cannot, unless I'm convinced about doing something, I'm sure that I'm never going to do what I want to do elsewhere. It's my character that going to reflect wherever I go, take this. My ability to influence starts with my character. So I would rather say it all starts with correcting the individual. Before you concentrate on the society, look within, correct whatever, bring all the corrections within. You'll have a society of your dream. You can create dream only when you can first look into us. The second thing I would like to say is that once you take care of your own self, not about how many, what is going to be my quarterly returns, what is going to be my reply to the state. Forget it. Those things will happen. Please understand, the Anumar வந்து ABT parcel serviceல அந்த ஒரு மலையை தூக்கிட்டு இருப்பாரு. அது மாதிரியெல்லாம் நம்ம இல்லை. நம்ம இல்லாட்டாலும் நடக்கத்தான் போகுது, நடந்துக்கிட்டு தான் இருக்குது. நெஹ்ரு இருக்கும்போது நெஹ்ரு இல்லாட்டா இந்தியா என்ன ஆகும்னு கேட்டுருப்பாங்க அந்த டைமில் இருந்தவங்க. இந்தியா இருக்கத்தான் செய்யுது. நாளைக்கு நரேந்திர மோடி இல்லைன்னா என்ன ஆகும்? அப்போ இருக்கும். நமக்கு தெரிஞ்ச மாதிரி ஏதோ பண்ணிட்டு இருப்போம். ஆனால் வாட் இஸ் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் இஸ் அன் இண்டிவிஜுவல் இஸ் மோர் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். And if that individual is not taken care of, if you don't take care of that individual in you, very difficult. Once you do that, the next important society you have, if I take care of myself, the next important society I have is my spouse, and my child. Can I make them happy? If I am fundamentally unhappy, how can I going to keep them and not peaceful within? How am I going to keep them happy and peaceful? And if I step out of my door and come to the court, there are about half a dozen staff waiting for me. They are my teammates in my official work. And if I don't ensure that they are happy in that small room, how am I going to go happily to my court? And once I go to the court, I have not done any human resources courses, blah, blah stuff. But still I have to manage several lawyers from across India. Not one we know how they are going to behave at any particular point of time. A best of lawyer can behave terribly badly, but then that may be a bad day for him. I have to give it to him. Some may be congenitally have got the tendency to behave badly. You still have to put up with him. After all, every election we go vote and we still manage them. No offense meant. This is to me is very, very important. You start from the self, move slowly to the society. இப்போ என்ன பிரச்சனைனா இது நான் தான் சொல்கிறேன் முதல்ல சொல்கிறவன் இல்லை. Ever so many people, இன்னைக்கு எதுக்கு இன்னைக்கு அலைய கூட வேண்டாம். You just go into Google uncle will tell you the best of thing. GChat will give you the super things. But then, இப்போ என்ன நடக்கும்னாக்கா வேறு ஒன்றும் இல்லை. எனக்கு 10:40க்கு என்னுடைய ப்ரோக்ராம் முடியும். காலையிலலாம் இட்டினரி பார்த்து வந்திருப்பீங்க. You would have participated in any number of such programs. Not just CSR meeting, there's a standard format. There will be an inaugural session, there will be a chief guest, whether relevant or irrelevant, he'll be occupying the same sort of stuff you'll be going to speak. And once the meeting, and then if followed by a coffee break, then A session, B session, working session, technical session, and valedictory session, there will be another chief guest for the valedictory session. How many meetings we have gone? This is going to be the same thing, please understand. At my scheduled time stops at 10:40. You will tolerate till about 10:45. That's the maximum limit. 10:45 போயாச்சுன்னா அப்போ தெரியும் எத்தனை பேர் ரெஸ்ட்லெஸ் ஆகிறாங்க. டைமை பார்ப்பாங்க, வைப்பாங்க, இது போவாங்க. Because mind is not here, mind is elsewhere. I'm going to be there at 4 o'clock, he takes, so I can't leave this 4 o'clock. Every nonsense happens. Therefore, all I'm going to say is, you hear any number of lecture. இந்த காலையில் வாட்ஸ்அப்பில் வரும் தெரியுமா? அதில் ஏதாவது ஒரு மெசேஜ் நம்ம பார்த்தா போகிறோம். லைஃப்பில் நிறையெல்லாம் கடைப்பிடிக்க வேண்டாம். Just follow one message. The sad thing is we don't even read that message completely. All we do is, முதல் 3 லைன் நல்லா இருந்தாக்க ஒரு 10 பேர் காமிச்சிட்டானாக்கா என்னுடைய காலை கடன் முடிஞ்சது. My social responsibility is over for the day. My social responsibility is over for the day. அங்கே சொல்லி கொடுக்காத எதையும் இங்கே வந்து நான் பேச போகிறது கிடையாது. அந்த மெசேஜில் ஏதோ 1-2 மெசேஜ், something that is useful to you, something that where we are comfortable with, which you think that you can put to use in your life, that is sufficient. The individual responsibility can start from there. And I'm saying that I don't say 80G and 135 are bad. பட் கத்தி முனையில் காதல்ங்கிற மாதிரி அது எப்படி முரண்பாடாக இருக்கோ, கத்தி முனையில் ஒரு சேரிட்டி என்னால் திங்க் பண்ண கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டப்படுறேன்னா, God has given me a position like our Pandya Rajan. God has given me a position where I see the social ills. அங்கே வந்து யாரும் டெம்பிள்ஸ் ஆஃப் ஜஸ்டிஸ்னெல்லாம் சொல்லிக்கிறத ஆசைப்படுறதே இல்லை. I always consider myself as doctors of bleeding rights. You come to the place and see சமுதாய அவலங்களை எவ்வளோ நாங்கள் பார்க்குறோம் தெரியுமா? ஹெல்ப்லெஸ்ஸாக பார்த்துட்ருப்போம். Other day, and here I take a cue from what again the speakers before, I think again Mr. Pandya Rajan. CSR always go to address a targeted audience, targeted project. I understand that. There are several unorganized individuals who are in need. I'll tell you, எவ்வளோ college dropouts வராங்க தெரியுமா? The dream of joining an engineering college, they go join, they could not continue, and ultimately I see that in a litigation situation where they are not able to collect the certificates. Every week I get 2-3 certificates from A college, B college, and you ask the college says that he has not paid fees. But then we will say that you don't have any lien over the certificates of an individual. that you have to realize separately through money. But education, we have made it a business and an industry that I'm not going to call, I have no issues about it. At no point of time the educationalist said that I'm doing charity. You come and join. நான் வருஷத்துக்கு 50 சீட் எனக்கு வருது, 2 சீட்டு நான் ஃப்ரீயாக கொடுக்குறேன், நான் யாருக்குமே சொல்கிறதில்ல. பாசிபிளி ஐ நோ சர்டன் இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன்ஸ், அவர் சொந்த பையனுக்கு கொடுத்தா கூட ஒரு செக் ரைட் ஹேண்டில் எழுதி லெஃப்ட் ஹேண்டில் பாக்கெட்டில் போட்டுட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் சீட் கொடுப்பார மாதிரியான இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன்ஸ் எனக்கு ஃபெமிலியாரிட்டி இருக்குது. ஆல் ஐ சே இஸ், கோயம்புத்தூர்லேயே இருக்குது, டோன்ட் வரி அபவுட் இட். ஸோ ஆல் ஐ எம் சேயிங் இஸ் தட் இந்த மாதிரி இண்டிவிஜுவல்ஸ், and other day a very poor boy, I'm told that he had to discontinue his studies because he could not pay the fees for the fifth semester or sixth semester, last one semester balance. I'm waiting for the case number, நான் நோட் பண்ணிக்கல. I talked to a couple of my friends. I said some 50, maybe whatever X money, I will start with 10,000 rupees. That's all I can afford. Who are going to care them? So my suggestion, taking a cue from them, why not there be, I mean, if a network of all the NGOs and CSR, all I need to do is, if I am in need of money, I need to log in and say, this is what I require. And somebody may be in Erode willing to work for that, pay for them. I need about 50,000 rupees to this college. Don't pay the boy, pay the college straight, talk to the college straight. And if it is so, okay, get the progress report. If you want some real return on investment, just address him. If the boy is not regular in his college, and if you don't get a good report about the boy, just collect some details about the boy, why he is behaving well. After all, எல்லா தாய் தந்தைக்கும் பிறக்கிற மாதிரி தான் அந்த குழந்தையும் ஏதோ ஒரு தாய் தகப்பனுக்கு பிறந்துச்சு. எல்லா குழந்தையும் இன்னசென்ட்டாக தான் பிறந்திருக்கு. The social condition, environment, I mean, its priorities got diverted. Now, why can't we do that? I'll tell you, I got some terrible experience. When I came across this situation, in fact, I was sponsoring some child in one of those child care NGO center. This happened several years back. Finally, someday I actually want to see the child, because I went to this thing and I was asked, I'm told, sir, the child oversubscribed. Can we divert your contribution to some other child? It is then I realize there are so many to take care of, anything which has got an organizational setup. An individual, my maid servant, his son, my staff, nobody cares. We need a platform for an individual to get the benefit of corporate social responsibility. And there are ever so many. அதான் நான் என்ன சொல்லுவேன்னா, நீங்கள் 80G 135 பார்த்து இது கிடைக்கவே போகிறதில்ல. The auditor will say one thing, the ROC will say yet another thing. Ask here. இதுக்கு நம்ம என்ன பண்ணலாம்? What we can do to take this to the next level. Best, something that suggests to me, maybe there may be some more Income Tax Act will come, 80GGFF, and because they cannot stop with one provision in wholly, they will have multiple these things, several amendments, few circulars, and they will complicate it so that nobody understands. Otherwise, நிறைய பேருக்கு பொழப்பு இருக்காது. ஸோ அப்புறம் இங்கே ROC அவருக்கு தெரிஞ்ச சர்க்குலர்லாம் விட்டுட்ருப்பாங்க, நிறைய சிம்போசியம் எல்லாம் பண்ணிகிட்ருப்போம். Let that happen because you need a legal framework. At the end of the day, my only appeal to you is, let there be a huge, we develop a platform. We let this organization develop a platform which makes CSR relevant not only to the NGOs, not only to certain specific projects, but to every individual. Because நமக்கு கண்ணில் படாதவங்க தான் ஜாஸ்தி, கண்ணில் படுறவங்க ரொம்ப கம்மி. How to make CSR relevant for an unknown individual? அடுத்த வேலைக்கு ஹாஸ்பிட்டலுக்கு போகிறதுக்கு பணம் இல்லாதவங்க, you pay the doctors directly or include the doctors within the scheme. Include this CSR. Corporate hospitals இருக்காங்க. How to make corporate hospitals relevant? Mr. தேவராஜன் சொன்ன மாதிரி, இங்கெல்லாம் கஷ்டப்படுத்திட்டு அந்த பணத்தை கொண்டு திருப்பதியில் போடுறதுனால காலனா பிரயோஜனம் கிடையாது. ரொம்ப வேதனையோடய சொல்ல வேண்டியிருக்கு. I tried something. I thought I have some good set of friends who I can influence to make some money. See, India's strength is its numbers. Therefore, so let us say that it is 130, 140. Remove all, let us concentrate some 10, 20 crore people. It's our strength. I'm not able to contribute 1 lakh rupees for somebody, but I can definitely contribute 1,000 rupees for a month. 1,000 rupees a month into 100, I need get that 1 lakh for one individual. I first tried this with a young boy, I don't know, somebody made a call, if you can make, the boy is from Palghat, has some severe ailment, got to be treated, one of those Amrita or somewhere it has to be treated. So 40,000 rupees I needed. I thought I will put 1,000 rupees. I was a judge of the High Court at that time, and I already become a judge of the High Court. I thought, எனக்கு கேட்காம இருந்தாக்குமா அட்லீஸ்ட் என் பதவியை வச்சாவது ஒரு 1000 ரூபா வாங்கிடலாம் அவ்வளோதான். I said, this is a boy's profile, and please can you contribute 1,000 rupees. I don't want anything more than 1,000 rupees. I just want to see how it works. My God, the number of queries I got fed up. Now I got select friends. Occasionally I see something. The whole idea was, let's take one project a month. We may not be able to solve the problem of all the person all the time. But if I can expand this network into some 100 people, each contributing 1,000 a month, which is possible. I know my friends are capable of part, and they will have their own friends at that level. So expand, the 10 must multiply into 100, each contributing 1,000 rupees. But it never happened. It never happened. I struggled to mobilize 25,000 rupees. When some new liquor is introduced in the market, people want to test it. They pay the same 1,000 rupees to a bartender status. Years back, when I was doing the law college, Crown Plaza, which was then Araya Gate, Parameswariyar, masala dosa nu potirpan. You remember anybody at that time, in 1983-86? You turn to Mobridge Road, TTK Road from Chamis Road, பெருசாக ஒரு போர்டு வச்சுருப்பான். எனக்கும் அது தோசை என்ன தான் இருக்க போகுது மசாலா தோசை அப்படின்ட்டு. அன்றைக்கி ரேட்டில் அதுக்கு 250 ரூபா சொன்னாங்க. என் மந்த்லி பட்ஜெட்டே அன்றைக்கி 150 ரூபாயில் முடிஞ்சு போயிடும். ஸோ த பாயிண்ட் ஹியர் இஸ், அதை டெஸ்ட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு ஆட்கள் போகிறாங்க. 1000 rupees, சாய் பொய் சொல்ல மாட்டான்டா, அவன் ஏதோ சொல்கிறான், நம்ம அதுக்காக கூட கேட்கல. அவனுக்கு ஓவர் சப்ஸ்கிரைப் ஆனால் உனக்கு எவ்வளோ தான் பண்ண போகிற, 1000 ரூபா நீ உனக்கு என்ன அதில் என்ன தான் கிடைக்க போகுது உனக்கு, அதுக்கு மேலே கேட்கலையே. அவனுக்கு ஓவர் சப்ஸ்கிரிப்ஷன் ஆகலைன்னு அவனுக்கு தெரியும். இது ஃப்ராடுன்னு என்ன தெரியும். ஃப்ராடு இல்லையோ, நீ கொடுக்க போகிறது ஒன் டைம் 1000 rupees. அது நீ பார்டெண்டருக்கு வைக்கக்கூடிய காசு. வாட் இஸ் அ பிக் டீல் அபவுட் இட்? திஸ் இஸ் அ ப்ராப்ளம். த ஆர்கனைசேஷனல் செட்டப், Mr. Devarajan is running this thing, wonderful. There may be, he said there was education thing, multiple units which are looking into this. எனக்கு ஒன்றே ஒன்று தான் வேணும், நான் அங்கே போய் என்னுடைய சர்டிஃபிகேட் கொடுத்து எனக்கு கொஞ்சம் படிக்கிறதுக்கு வசதி இல்லைங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லியாச்சுன்னா என்னை சந்தேகத்தோடு பார்க்கக்கூடாது. You want to get some profile, you make a discreet inquiry, but don't tease me. Don't tease me, don't suspect me. The country has become a huge society of everybody suspecting everyone. Everybody fearing everyone. இதுக்கு நம்ம என்ன பண்ண போகிறோம்? And so the CSR must target not just putting money in something and getting this thing and satisfying the ROC. No. It has got much larger idea. That idea is all stemmed from one fact, one statement. What best can I do to my society? What best can I do to this society has got, this country, certain aspects which I am very upset about this country is, everybody wants to quote somebody. Gandhi said, Nehru said, Ambedkar said, he said, she said. What are you going to say? This is your moment in the history of the nation. They all have said, done whatever they could do in their moments in the history of the nation. This is your moment, my moment, our moment. What is that we are going to do to the society? What is that we are going to do to this nation? Nation building is not like outsourcing some to a construction company to build something. No, it is in our heart. It is in our responsibility to take, it is in our intent to take responsibility for the society. And I'll finish it with one short note. This is one, if those who have my number, WhatsApp, this has been my motto for long. This is our moment in the history of the nation and human civilization. What best can I do? So, every day when I step out of my chamber to the court hall, only one sentence, I will just remind myself, what best can I do for the day? This is the only sentence I take. There may be Modi fans here, Stalin fans here. I have no issues. They may be working incessantly. அவங்களுக்குலாம் எங்கேருந்து இவ்வளோ ஃபிசிக்கல் ஸ்டாமினா இருக்குன்னு கூட தெரியறதில்ல. அந்த அளவுக்குலாம் நான் ஓட வேண்டாம். I'm not taking responsibility for 140 million people. All I'm going to take responsibility is a wife, a son, few staff, some 50, 100 lawyers before me every day. What best can I do for them? This is my moment in the history of the nation. இந்த ஐடியாவை 75th anniversary, of our independence-க்கு ப்ராபகேட் பண்ணலாம். நம்ம ஊரில் ஒரு இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங் திங், புள்ளி ராஜாவுக்கு எய்ட்ஸ் வருமானா மொத்த சொசைட்டியும் அதை பார்க்குது. ஸோ நானும் என்ன நினச்சேன், இது தெரியாது, இப்போ 2000 கிட்ஸுக்கெல்லாம் தெரியாது. அதெல்லாம் வந்தாச்சா? அப்போ புள்ளி ராஜாவுக்கு எய்ட்ஸ் வருமா வந்தாச்சா தெரியல. வெதர் இட் வாஸ் பிஃபோர் 2K ஆர் ஆஃப்டர் 2K, அது என்னன்னே தெரியல. இன்னைக்கு வரைக்கும் எனக்கு தெரியாது. ஆனால் ஊர் பூரா அது இருந்துட்டு இருந்தது, புள்ளி ராஜாவுக்கு எய்ட்ஸ் வருமான்ட்டு. நானும் நினச்சேன், ஸோ சம்திங் தட் இஸ் வெரி அப்பீலிங். அப்போ இந்த பஸ் ஸ்டாண்டில் இங்கெல்லாம் நான் எதுக்கு சொன்னேன்னா, ஐ ஜஸ்ட் ஈவன் ட்ரை டு ப்ராபகேட் இன் மை ஓன் ஹைகோர்ட். தேர் ஆர் லாட் ஆஃப் எலக்ட்ரானிக் டிஸ்பிளே போர்ட்ஸ். ஐ டாக் டு மை ஓன் சீஃப் ஜஸ்டிஸ் at the relevant time, who is now retired. I just told them, we have huge tendency subtly go into the psyche, operate on the psyche of the individual. We'll have a display, electronic display, let it flash it frequently. This is our moment in the history of the nation. What best can we do? Somewhere down the line, it may operate. So when he comes to the court, he will also take responsibility for the institution of, it's a psychological game I wanted to play. I could not even achieve that. There's some committee who I had got, I said, go hell. So at the end of the day, to market a good idea, which I thought is still good, is difficult. My only appeal is, let you carry this message. Wherever possible, please advertise. I don't want any copyright. Write in the hearts of men, this is our moment in the history of the nation, and what best can we do? Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. A lot of takeaways from your speech today, and straight from the heart. Thanks for that. Ladies and gentlemen, time for us to honor these dignitaries before we move on to the next session. May I request Mr. Krishna Swamy to step forward and present a memento to the Chief Guest, Honorable Justice Seshasai, Group Captain Vijay Kumar to present a memento to Mr. K. Pandirajan, and Mr. N. Venkatesh, who is the patron CSR Park, to come forward and present a memento to Mr. Devarajan. Please come forward, sir. Vijay? Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So we have gentlemen, we have 450 people around watching this program live today. May now request Group Captain Vijay Kumar, Executive Director MMA. As you are all aware, he's been heading MMA since 2007. He is the Vishisht Seva Medley President Award from the President of India for his service while in the Air Force. May I request him to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And what I should say, what of thanks after listening to Honorable Justice, what an inspiring address. I've listened so many management talks. Sir, your management talk today, you set the tone, so inspiring, thought-provoking. I wish most of us just emulate what Justice Sheshai said this morning. I'm quite sure that's going to set the tone. The takeaway for us is quite a good, and we'll do that. And sincere thanks to when Mr. Krishnaswamy spoke to me that we want to do a CSR conclave. I straight away agreed because I know year 2021, 14,700 crores is the amount allocated for CSR funding, of which about 1,200 companies qualify for this, and the percentage of money utilized and also the major amount, 60% above, goes towards education, healthcare. So we need to educate people because one of the flaws which many really see is the implementation of the CSR. That has become a big problem. That I realized when MMA started implementing CSR, not that we are wanting to do that. Some of our members insisted we must implement the CSR from MMA to bring in more transparency, reach out to more people. We do that, and a lot of challenges. How we overcome the challenges, my team will be presenting this afternoon. Thanks, Mr. Pandirajan, for joining. It's always a pleasure to have you with us, and it's a pleasure to having. And Devarajan, thanks for your presence today, and we'll continue to have more engagement with you. And Nikhil and Krishnaswamy are walking encyclopedia of CSR, because whenever we get stuck, we just give a call and we get a lot of input. There's so many inputs where many of us get stuck as implementing authority. I'm quite sure each one of you will really immensely benefit. I also thank so many people who have watched online. You tune in and you will get a lot of insights. If you miss it by any chance, not to worry, all this is available in our social media portal. Thanks so much. Nice having you with us today at MMA, and have a great day, and looking forward to seeing you more at MMA. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we break for tea. We'll reassemble as quickly as possible. The next session is supposed to have started at 11. Maybe by 11:10, 11:15, we should start. Please come back. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think those who are watching us online as well have grabbed your cup of tea now. Moving on to the first session, we already introduced Mr. Krishna Swami to you. So may I request Mr. Krishna Swami to come take the dais and take the session forward.
Shall we wait for some more to come in or shall we start? We'll start, okay. So once again, good morning. We're getting into the pardon? Good morning, and we are getting into the business session as of now. Hello. Yes. If those outside can hear me, can just walk in. I think we have enough crowd here. Thank you. Now, as I told you, I'll be impressing on the points which are to be noted for implementation of CSR, both from the corporate side as well as the NGO side. Now, when we talk of CSR, the environment as such, I normally group it into four, A, B, C, D. A is the implementing agencies. This is where most of the NGOs come in. B, the beneficiaries. These beneficiaries primarily are the society and the environment. Because any business, whatever they do, they have to pay back. All other vendors and everything, they pay back in cash. And whatever they take from the society or the environment, they don't pay back in cash. And this is where CSR comes into play. Corporates, of course, corporates who have the threshold limit. And drivers are the government, the CSR academia, and the CSR professionals. I'll just be touching upon the important points of the Companies Act 2013, the Section 135, Schedule VII, CSR Rules, Notification and Circulars. Now, the crux of CSR, when does CSR come into the picture? Once a company crosses any one of these threshold limits, then naturally you have to spend 2% on the preceding 3 years profit average, that is all. Now, this is where I am getting into the points which are to be noted, the salient points from the NGO point of view as well as the corporate point of view. If there is a failure to spend, you give a project report proposal for 1 crore and you get that money from the corporate, you are only going to spend about 70 lakhs or 80 lakhs. That 20 lakhs is a shortfall for the corporate. You have to be very careful in this. So when you are creating a shortfall or you are not reporting properly, you are not giving the utilization certificate properly, it becomes failure to spend. Very clear. You are putting the corporate into trouble. Next time he will never encourage you, entertain you. Be careful. So similarly, see, previously it was either you spend on CSR or you explain why you have not spent. That was the only thing that was there. Now, penal provisions are very, very high. You can read it on the screen. I'm not going to read it again. Schedule 7 again, where all you can do CSR. You need not try to take photographs or note down anything. These presentations are available on csarspark.org. It is already there. You can download it. You need not take trouble in noting down. I don't think any other event they are doing it like this. We are doing it like a classroom session, giving you the presentations in advance and asking you to come prepared with your questions. And either you fulfill the Schedule 7 or you simply fulfill Sustainable Development Goals, work towards any of these goals, naturally you will, your development sector will be covered here. If you don't do properly, this is where the funds will go. It will go to the scheduled funds. So if you don't do your CSR properly, implementation agencies, if you are not strong enough, this is where all the money will go. And I will tell you what is happening right now, finally. Similarly, there are certain autonomous bodies which can receive these funds. And I think IITs are also there. Now, this pertains only to the corporates, administrative overheads of corporates. It can, the general management within the company, managing the CSR activities and administration only comes under thing. But when you go towards the project side, any sort of design, implementation, monitoring, evaluation, everything to be added to the project cost, not to the administrative overheads. Be very careful. These aspects you'll have to take into consideration while you're designing a project, CSR project. That's the most important thing. Now, what is not CSR? You can read it. Please don't attempt to design any project falling under this. It will not be entertained by the company. You are waste of time for you, waste of time for everybody. So don't get into any of these activities over here. There is a CSR policy. This has to be put up by each company on their website. What are all to be there? And finally, you can see in red annual action plan, AAP, which has come into being very from 2021 onwards. And I will explain what is AAP. AAP has to be put on the website. I am not sure how many companies have displayed it on their website. Now again, I'm just touching upon the salient points only. Multi-year projects. Previously, it was only 1 year. It was not, they were not very clear whether second year, what do I do? Supposing you're constructing a building. The project goes for 3 years. How do I handle it? You cannot put first floor for 1 year, second floor. Now, multi-year projects are available. 1 year plus 3 years. So 3 plus 1, 4 years, project is available. So you can design a project under any circumstance for 4 years. Project, first year, each year it is 25 lakhs. 25 lakhs will be given to you first. Remaining 75 will go into a unspent CSR account by the company. The company will hold it and it will be transferred every year. So CSR, in the reporting, all these things will come. This is again the CSR rule and act and everything. I need not explain too much on this. Now, CSR implementation, certain companies do it directly. This is where social entrepreneurs come into play. Social entrepreneurs, I think Bioman is here. You are not an NGO, but you are a for-profit. For-profits come into play in direct implementation. So CSR, the spectrum has space for everybody, not only for NGOs. Some do it with their own foundation or through other agencies. But the last one is external agency. This is where CSR implementing agencies come into play. The NGO sector comes here. This is where you have to strengthen yourself. You should have your ATG, 12-way, proper reporting, everything is there. I'll touch upon that later. CSR implementation, again, international organizations can be engaged only for design, monitoring, evaluation, capacity building. They cannot be involved in implementation, very clear. That is there. Collaboration with other companies permitted. Supposing I have a huge project, 50 lakhs, one company is giving me 30, the other is giving me 20 lakhs. You can do a project, but only thing you will have to report separately to each company. That is the only thing. So you should understand what are all the spent properly every quarter. At the end of the year, the head of the organization and the next person to sign will be your chartered accountant. If you have not maintained your accounts properly, if it doesn't reflect under the proper head of account, definitely your chartered accountant will not sign the utilization certificate. Without a utilization certificate, your CSR implementation is nothing. Be careful. Getting CSR funds is one aspect. Handling CSR funds is very, very difficult. Proper reporting, monitoring, evaluation, all those things are very, very critical. Be careful. This is again CSR committee, rules, everything. All these are there in the presentation. You can keep going. The annual action plan, as I told you, this was put into place January 2021. The list of CSR projects should have been there. How you are going to execute it, how the funds are being utilized over the year, and monitoring and reporting mechanism, need and impact assessment, if any, everything is there. All these should have been mentioned in the annual action plan of every corporate which comes under CSR. Unfortunately, I have not seen most of the corporates doing this. It is still not being made mandatory. It is mandatory, but they don't follow it. Because as an NGO, you look into the corporate company website, you should know which sector he is working. See, the other day we had Cognizant in Coimbatore. They're very clear. We don't work on environment. We are on education, we are on health. Now, you have an environment project and keep knocking his doors, it's a waste of your time. So please go read that company's CSR policy, see whether they are doing something. I will tell you where to get details again at a later stage. This again pertains to the corporate administrative overheads. I've already told you about it. How to adjust the excess amount spent. All these things will come there. Capital assets. There was no clarity on how capital assets can be held in CSR. The CSR rules from 2021 clearly defines capital assets. Can be held by a Section 8 company or a public trust or a society. That is, any implementing agency can hold it. Or the beneficiaries of a CSR, maybe a panchayat union or something like that. A public authority, I told you, the government, you can build and give it to the government. That is one thing. So you can take up capital assets creation also. A public hospital, a school, anything can be done under CSR. You can be the implementing agency. That is one thing. CSR reporting, I am just showing this. This is there in the slides. I'm not going to discuss too deep into it. Nikhil is there. He will take care of all these things. But everything is there in the slides which have been shared to you. Please download, go through it. Don't ignore any, not even one slide need not be ignored, either from my presentation or from Nikhil's or from Mr. Ravi's today. Be careful. We are giving you the presentation in advance. Please go through it. Again, display of CSR activities on the website, very critical. Transfer of unspent CSR amount. See, I'll tell you, this is for the corporate. If there is any unspent CSR amount, there are certain specific timings before which they have to put it into the specified funds. If you have an ongoing project, it goes into an unspent CSR account. That is different. Here, if you have unspent amount with you, within 6 months, you have to put it into one of these specified funds. That's one thing. Again, Annex CSR 2, all these I'm just rushing through. Now, important references. There are 3 critical websites which you will have to keep on peeping into. One is ebook Companies Act 2013. You have the link over there. This will give you the original section 135, okay, and the CSR rules, Schedule 7, everything is there original, and time to time, what are all the amendments which have come in. You need not ask anybody. All these things are there. So all the notifications, circulars, everything is there. National CSR portal. How many of you have gone into this portal? Please raise your hands. Nalla thookunga. Pathetic. If you are into CSR field and if you have not visited this site, very difficult. See, this will give you geographically what is the CSR spent every state-wise. Within the state, the district-wise. You can take company-wise. You know a company, you want to know whether they are doing CSR or not. You have company-wise listing over there. And once you go to the company-wise listing, you will know what are all the development sectors they are working for. Unless you do go into this site, you will not know anything. And I take all my data from this site. CSR spend data from this site. Wonderful site. And this is National CSR Exchange portal. I think we had the speakers telling that the beneficiary should be connected to the corporate properly. Here, again, you can register as a corporate, you can post your projects over here. How many NGOs have posted projects in this site? Anybody? Only 1. 2. Please visit this site. You have a project. See, unless you have your CSR ID, you will not be able to register onto this site. Please, you can post your projects. Several corporates have posted their requirements on this site. Please go on National CSR Exchange portal. I don't have time to open it up and show you, but please go visit this. Interesting. This is what I explained. And all the notifications, everything has been included in this presentation. I'm not going into too deep into it. You can go through it. This is the main one. The Companies Amendment Rules 2021, dated January 22nd, 2021. Totally changed the scenario in CSR. Everything went for a toss. Please go through this amendment line by line. Nikhil will be giving you two details, and the book which I have given you, I will contain all the details about it. I hope all of you have picked up the book from there, manual. Anybody not having it? Yeah. Anybody not having it, I'll ask him to give you one. Bye. Thank you. That's more like a textbook for today's classes, what Nikhil is going to take today. So, general circular, yes. This is the most interesting thing. What is the annual CSR spend? What made me take up CSR education for myself? 2016, I knew every year it was 15,000 crores. I thought, why don't I get 100 crores to Coimbatore? Only then I started getting into this course. After the course, I've started this portal and I will come through it. But still, I have not achieved that 100 crores in Coimbatore till today. It has not come through. Anyhow, you can see the increase. 2021, there's a huge jump. The national spend has been continuously increasing. Number of companies, 2021 it has come down, but the spend has increased. 2021, see the top 20 companies, why I have put you is, top 20 companies have 27% of the spend. So you have an opportunity with the remaining 73% of the companies. You need not go to the top company. Look for other companies, please. You know, that is the idea behind putting the data then. In the last two lines, the contribution to funds was very low, 5%. So the companies were doing very good implementation. Either they were doing implementation or they were not spending and giving a reason for not spending. It was allowed. 2021, it became mandatory. Either you spend or you put it in an unspent CSR account for further year projects, or third, you have the other opportunities, you put it into specified funds. Yep. Yeah, any one of the thresholds they have met it. Yeah. 5 crores net profit. So this is a low value. See, the MCA has not updated the data. Yeah, now it has gone up actually. The reason for the number of companies in the spend going up is the amendment in January 2021. See, the effect it has taken from January 2021 to March 2021, okay, though the number of companies are low, the spending has gone up. And one negative factor which you have to fear is, as an NGO, the last 2 lines, you can see contribution to funds has jumped. If you are good enough, if you are able to perform properly, they will not give it to the funds. They will give it to the NGO. Pardon? COVID also was one thing, but primarily I'm telling you, a lot of people are writing checks. That is it. Year end, they simply write a check to Prime Minister's fund or something, sit back. They don't want to get behind. Very easier for them. That is very easier for them. But you should make their job easier by working properly. That is talking about corporatization of NGOs. I volunteer for an NGO in Coimbatore called Sirutuli. 100% corporate. It is run by corporates. I volunteer over there. It is one of the NGOs which still holds the FCRA approval. Most of them have lost it. That's it. Out of 13%, that is 3,490, and not only PM fund, for several other funds also. You missed out one slide. I'll just show you. Just go back. Yes. Prime Minister's Natural Relief Fund, central government funding, it can go. It can also go for autonomous bodies like this. So the gap always was just in kind, sir. Pardon? The kind also included in this amount? No, kind is never involved in CSR, it is only cash. There is no kind. If you are manufacturing paper and you say, I donated paper and I will quantify it, it is not accounted. It is only cash. CSR means money, cash. Okay. Yes. It will be classified, sir, but one problem is, I myself have written to several district collectors saying you create a CSR hub over there. Okay, you list your projects where the gap is between, already some social spending is there from the government. There are gaps over there. You fill up these things, you put up, I will help create a website for you and work with you, and you give permission, single window clearance, you see accreditation of NGO comes there. You can put in accredited NGOs, they will see when the corporate comes to take a project, the NGO is ready, the project is ready, the permission is ready, you start doing it. They are not doing it. That's the thing. Pardon? It is happening now. That depends on the collector, how long he is there. Once that gentleman moves out, that will go. Okay. Okay, very nice. So this is again one more thing. Health, education, environment. These three take the major chunk of your CSR spend. Development sector wise, I have put a spend. Again, here I have mentioned the contribution to funds over here. Quite alarming. Within 2 months this has happened. We have not got the data for 21-22 still. MC has not uploaded it. It is going to be really difficult. Though the money available for CSR is more is going into the funding. That is one thing. Now, important terms in CSR, these things you have to know. You should know who the beneficiaries. You should do a baseline study, the need assessment. You might be good in some job. You cannot go and thrust it on some community over there. That is need assessment is very clear. Project proposal preparation, I told you, gave you some hints on project proposal preparation. Then the convergence with the government's social initiatives. Then your partnership with your corporates, share value, implementation, monitoring, documentation, outcome, impact assessment, report. All these there in the thing you can take. Sustainable, say I mentioned one thing called exit strategy. It will be slightly different. You'll have a doubt, how come this guy is talking about exit strategy? You do a project, make it sustain, you get out, you do start doing the next project. Please don't be sitting at one place at the same time. Spread your wings, keep moving. That's the idea. Now, implementing agencies, this is right now the major bottlenecks I've been noticing. Very bad track record. They either have a very bad track record or they don't document their track records. Whenever somebody comes to me, I tell them, you prepare annual report for 3 years and come to me. Annual report should comprise about the organization, about the activities during that year and your financials for that year, and should not exceed 5 to 6 pages, maximum 7 pages. Be sharp in that. That is one thing. For the NGO I'm talking about, NGO. If you want to be a good NGO, 3 years minimum you should have it. Identification projects, government approvals, very difficult in environment sector. School sector nowadays, very difficult. You have to go sit with the government, get it done. Documentation, I told you, very bad documentation by NGOs. They do things, but they don't document. That's a problem. Sector-wise and geographical inequity. You come to Tamil Nadu, Nilgiris, you hardly have any spend. Coimbatore, very good spend is there. So you should start working in Nilgiris, finding out, exploring projects over there. There are needs over there. That is one thing. Transparency and availability of funds. That is what I was telling you. Every corporate should be able to present the annual action plan on their website. You can expect it to be done very shortly. And trust deficit. The corporate doesn't trust the implementing agency. Implementing agency doesn't trust the beneficiary. It's a vicious circle over there. If you're able to address this trust deficit, sky is the limit. You can keep moving. So with this, I will stop. I think I'll hand over the session to Nikhil very soon. I'll give a brief introduction about Nikhil, about very short introduction, and I'll ask Nikhil to start with this. Can somebody change the presentation? Nikhil, please. See, Nikhil Plant, a well-known personality in the CSR resources area. He's been former Chief Program Executive with the National Foundation for CSR, IACA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India. And he has played a key role from government side in formulation and national-wide rollout of the CSR law as per Section 135. He was there when the law was framed. Each and every phrase he knows. He also specializes in CSR grant management, monitoring and evaluation frameworks, impact assessment, project management, and is currently involved in compliance to impact with sustainability, advising to governments, corporates, NGOs, and academia. Nikhil is actively engaged in implementing projects through REACHA, an NGO, and advising and training corporates through Lakshya, his advisory firm. They are our partners, knowledge partners for this event also. And I would like to present Nikhil. It's going to be really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krishnaswamy. So while the presentation is being uploaded here, I would request all of you got smartphones. So you can just go to your phone and go to csarspark.org. And the presentation which I'm making, I want you to download it also because there are some elements in the presentations which you may not be able to see. So I thought, why not do a session where there is a presentation and you have it in your screen as well. So if you can go to csrspark.org, and if you see the link over there, I will tell you where it is and you can then download it. That's Mr. Krishnaswamy's csrspark.org. Has anybody opened the website? Yeah, so can you just see there is a link over there, CSR Conclave presentation by Nikhil Pant. You can see right on the top. If you can just open that, you will get to see this presentation. I'll give you all 2 minutes to download because, yes, exactly. And I want you to keep reading it as I'm conducting it because it will lead to better understanding. And you can keep the phone with you and also have your pad and pen with you. We'll do a very intensive session. An hour and a half, I guess. I have with me Mr. Krishnaswamy. How much time do I have? Till about 1:30 or 1 o'clock? Because you've given me 15 minutes late. So my time is till 1 o'clock, I know, but let us see how much I'll do. But there is something interesting which I will tell you in the end, because I'm going to launch a new program today through Lakshya, where there is going to be an enrollment and all of you are most welcome to do that. Is it downloaded? How many of you have downloaded this? If you can raise your hands. This is very nice. I'll give 1 more minute. Also, while you have this with you, keep the Ready Reckoner with you, the CSR manual that we released today in the morning. So while 1.5 hours is not enough, I will try to do multitasking here to give you maximum impact in 1 hour 15 minutes on CSR, which it will be like the last over of a T20 match where you have to score 25-30 runs. And we'll actually score out those number of runs. Let me assure you that. So just follow my instructions. Just keep this book maybe on the right side of your lap and keep a paper and pen also. Let me see how much you can do at one go. And with the phone also. While if you can read it, it is good, but if you see some of the other slides, the writing goes smaller and smaller. And I couldn't enlarge it because I often use this for my training sessions as well. And see, like for example, this one, you can't see it from there. But in the phone, I want you to read it as well. So let me again have you raising your hands. How many of you have downloaded this? Very nice, very nice. Okay. I'm going to keep this in my pocket. I will move around as well. Now, what am I trying to do over the next 1 hour 15 minutes? 2023 also marks the 10th year of CSR. It's a very, very auspicious year, I would say, financial year 23-24. Exactly 10 years ago, I was part of the ministry when the law was being drafted. And it was a company's bill at that time, 2012. Mr. Moily was the minister, I remember, and then Mr. Sachin Pilot it was the UPA government. And I always tell everybody, this is the beauty of Indian democracy. While the politicians may keep fighting, there is some good work also happening at the back. Let's not miss that. And there was a standing committee of parliament. You can make a note in the paper and in the pad that you have. I will share these documents with all of you once you register on the Lakshya website, which is a free registration. I'm just trying to create an ecosystem where every month I'll do a session because I'm traveling around the country and there is massive gap on learning. And NGOs who have so much funds to use, if they are not aware of this, it is like, such an opportunity may be wasted. And nation building, as Justice was saying in the morning, is the key part of it. From the self to the social, he kept on saying S to the S. It is extremely important that we understand these implications. While the framework has its meaning, but the true element is that there is a spiritual element to whole law, I would say, because you are trying to change lives. It is a passion, it is a purpose that we try and do. So, the bill was debated in Parliament, and I was part of the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs at that time, which is like a think tank to the ministry, the IICA. It is an 1860 society. And there was this crack team of 5 or 7 of us. Our mentor, our guide, Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, was the Director General and CEO of the IICA. He had just retired as Secretary to Government of India. And he was the one who in 2010 initiated CSR with public sector when he was Secretary Department of Public Enterprises. So there was some history to it, but there was huge debate when this bill was coming in because Companies Act of 1956, keep writing this, of 1966 was then amended into the Companies Bill of 2012, which became the Companies Act of 2013. Now, why this is important for us to know is that the same reason why we should study modern history and ancient history and medieval history. If we know the history, you know the Aadhaar, you know the intent. If I know the intent, I know what is the letter and spirit. If I know the letter and spirit, then when I am implementing CSR and I am making those critical decisions in certain gray areas also, I would likely not make a mistake if I know the Aadhaar. Is that right or not? Because when it goes for a scrutiny, when it goes for a validation, when it goes for an inspection, and if your documentation is correct back end, you can say that your intent was not wrong. You can have the documentation to convey that you had the paperwork done. So it was then Mr. Sachin Pilot who piloted it, and there was a standing committee under the leadership of one, you all know, Mr. Yashwant Sinha, was former finance minister. He was in the BJP at that time. He's in the TMC right now. I keep mentioning names of politicians and political parties because at the end of the day, who makes the legislations? The Jan Pratinidhi. People whom we elect. They go into the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha is the indirect one, but the parliamentarians enact the laws. And they need to be need-based, and we choose the parliamentarians. If we don't like their work, we can throw them out next time. That is the way democracy works. And we are doing pretty well, I feel, because this act was a collective success, I would say, between the UPA and the NDA at that time. And Mr. Pilot was then the minister. It was the latter part. This act had a jinx that whoever would become the MCA minister of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs would get transferred just before the bill would come for hearing in Parliament. And we used to do the back-end work with writing those answers, because every time some member of Parliament would raise a query, start question, unstart questions, and we would get homework to write the answer. Why is this not a corporate tax? The corporate said, this is another tax on us. But we said, no, it's not a tax. And that's what you were asking, sir, in the morning, right now to Mr. Krishna Swamy, when the collector is saying, give me the money. Well, the money that the collector gets is the taxpayer's money into his or her treasury. Therefore, CSR fund should remain under the control of the trustees of the shareholders. Who is that? The board of the committee, the CSR committee of the board. So the key player in CSR is the board. It's the board level activity which has to decide everything, because the owner of this money is the shareholder and not the taxpayer. The premise is this, and we begin from this. Basis this, if the trustees of the shareholders, who are the CSR committee of the board and the board itself, decide that they need to give it to the PM Care Fund, then so be it. But it should be their decision because they are the owners. Is this concept clear to everyone? This is the core element of the CSR legislation on which the bill got converted into a law, and it was in August 2013, September, when the then President of India gave the assent to the bill that had been cleared both by the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. And then, you may write this down, on 1st of April 2014, it was rolled out. 1st of April 2014. So this is the 10th year of this legislation. And what I'm trying to do in the next maybe about 40-45 minutes is to tell you that while we study the trends in spending, that so much of money has been spent, in so many geographies it has been spent, and in so many sectors it has been spent, we should also try and analyze upstream of that. There is an evolution of policy framework. How has government policy evolved? Because there is a policy which leads to this spending. Because the bill says, and I will show you that particular slide, I'll keep going back and forth in my presentation, and I would like you all to open this slide in your smartphones also, if you can't see it on the board, that it is a board level activity. And if you see the boxes over here, is a committee of the board, and then there is a role of the board. This is the calculation about the budget, etc. This is all driven by a policy that, is there a red marker that I can use over here? No, this doesn't work. Huh? Or does this work? Oh, yes, this I have. Can you see bullet number 3 here? CSR policy. So who makes the CSR policy in an eligible company? The CSR committee. And then the board has to approve that policy. So let me just explain this to you. There is the Constitution of India. Is that the highest reporting authority in India? Yes or no? In terms of legal, in terms of law. Now, that parliament passes any law. One of them is Companies Act 2013 with more than 400 sections. One of those sections is called Section 135. It was the first time that CSR was enacted anywhere in the world in this way. A remarkable act. And let me tell you, in the last 10 years, I have given guidance to chambers of industry from different countries, like AmCham for America. You have the French companies, you have the British companies who all are there, their embassies in Delhi when I was in government and even otherwise. They want to study how corporates are helping nation building in a very unique way in India. It is something which is not happening anywhere else in the world. So, the Act says that if you are an eligible company, which is the left part of it. Now, so the Act is passed, that is the highest reporting authority, then which is the implementing agency of the government? The Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So in your drop down, in your table, you write down top, Constitution, Parliament, make an arrow and write down MCA. Beneath the MCA, put down another arrow and say board of a company. Now beneath the MCA is the 25 companies, 25,000 companies. Each of these companies are eligible to do CSR because of this formula, and within these companies, the board is the highest authority, and within it, the subset is the CSR committee of the board. So we must know the organizational structure of CSR first to understand the game. Just like if you have MMA here, I'm sure they have an organizational structure. Just like you, in your company, there would be an organizational structure. There is a chairman, there is a board, there is whatever. There is a hierarchy. So let us understand the hierarchy and the process flow of this legislation. And then this board has to now prepare an annual action plan. This is from the amendment of 2021, that what is the money that you will spend in the coming financial year. Basis that, they can identify NGOs like all of you. How many of you are NGOs over here? Now, the moment you understand this flow, do you realize that any rupee that comes to you, eventually by this chain of command needs to be reported to the Constitution of India, yes or no? Yes or no, when you understand this process flow. Then do you understand how important it is for you to understand compliance? And not just think I will get the money because I think I deserve it. Because I have 12A, I have 80G, I have Form CSR 1. I need to understand that there is a constitutional process flow and I am a very crucial part of that chain. So that chain includes the members of parliament, they include the the Secretary Government of India, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, who reports to the MCA, the minister, and right now I think it's Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, I think she's the finance minister who's looking after the MCA as well. And Mr. Anurag Thakur, I think, is the other minister. There is the Secretary MCA, and then his team, his or her team. There is typically a joint secretary in the MCA who heads the CSR cell. Please write this down. There is a CSR cell in the MCA, which works closely with the ROCs, the registrars of companies who eventually do CSR. Now, each of these companies, suppose TVS is one of those companies which is a sponsor here, is an eligible company and they have their trust, which does CSR. Is there anybody from TVS trust here? So you should also know this, that what TVS is giving to its trust, as maybe its CSR arm, is part of this whole hierarchy of process flow. Does this give you a better perspective of your responsibility when you do field work, that 1 rupee that I'm giving to an NGO should result in 10 rupees in return? This is called high impact. Because please remember, the 2% of CSR is very little money. 25,000 crores per year is very little money, as compared to lakhs and lakhs of crores of taxpayer money. This 25,000 crores is
shareholder money. Please make a note. It is shareholder money. And when this partners with government programs or assists nation building, CSR then brings about an amazing dynamics, should I call it jugalbandi, of shareholder money catalyzing taxpayer money, resulting into impact. And I often call it CSR, because I work with the Indian Army in Kashmir. I work very closely at the LOC as well in Kupwara. And you remember the Balakot strike, the surgical strike? Have you all heard of the surgical strike? Was or is the surgical strike supposed to be of high impact or of blurred impact? High impact. So I tell everybody that CSR has to be a surgical strike on development sector. Now in a surgical strike, the guy who's flying the MiG, who actually then had to, what was his name, the captain, the Air Force pilot? Abhinandan. He was then returned back. So when Abhinandan went into that vehicle needs to be very well oiled to go to Balakot and strike where the militants are, right? So the vehicle where the leader resides or the team resides, the NGO, I will call that MiG the NGO. And if your end point is you have to achieve some target, the people driving it need to know exactly the latitude and the longitude. Why I'm giving you this perspective is the policy frameworks have evolved over the last 10 years. And if I go back to how it all began, if you see this one. So 2013, it was enacted. 2014, it rolled out. 2015, 18, and 19, if you can't read it from there, please see your smartphones. There were high-level committees set up by the government to evaluate basis the spending data that was coming. Where is the money going? Is it going into work or is it going into dissipation? It came to light in the high-level committee report of 2018 that, and I think in the contents, I don't know if the recommendations are included in this booklet or not, but I will share it separately with all of you. Those recommendations are not part of this, but I will share it with all of you. What came out was that a lot of corporates were passing the money to their NGOs, which was like their own foundations, and the foundations were not spending it. And it was getting reported as spent. So this came to light and they said, in 2021, when the amendment came, January 2021, that mere transfer of money is not spending. Utilization with the CA UDIN number is spending. So the role of the chartered accountant and the CFO became very, very important. Role of chartered accountant and CA and CFO has become very, very important. I also conduct a course with the ICAI and my students are chartered accountant. In fact, currently that course is running. And I have my next class on 21st, where I'm trying to also train the chartered accountants on how to interpret CSR. Because they are generally experts in taxation. And they often do not understand the way they need to perceive CSR. Once there is a marriage of understanding this, as to how within the framework of taxation, the framework of CSR can merge, because both are legal frameworks. Please understand. And if you are needing an audit certificate from a CA who doesn't know CSR, can you imagine what's happening? I'm going very deep into this now because I run an NGO myself and I do consulting very deep level. I work in very remote areas. I'm about to start a project in a place called Tezu in Arunachal Pradesh, which is close to the China border. There is an IIFL foundation which has come forward to support our NGO. And what I'm working very closely with the Indian Army over there. There is the NCC from Dibrugarh which is working with us. The Northeast is a major area where there is a ministry called M-Donor, Ministry for the Development of the Northeast. So CSR money is high stakes money. We as NGOs or corporates need to understand that our focus and our planning has to be that this 1 rupee has to return, should give me a return of 10 rupees, 20 rupees or whatever. So that could be in terms of pure absolute impact or to catalyze government programs. You have the freedom. Who decides? The board of the company with the CSR committee of the board. I'll halt here for a minute and I have reached 2019 and 21 is the amendment. Now, this amendment is included in page number 9 of this booklet. Please open page number 9. That is why this booklet has been given to you so that you understand everything. page number 9, you will see the Gazette notification. Which date is it mentioning? Gazette notification?
Sorry, sir.
Which date?
2nd Jan.
22nd January, all of you. So I'm a school teacher, so please be alert. I'm going to ask you surprise questions. If you're found sleeping, then the funder will also not like to fund you. So take deep breaths, and if you want to have sips of water, I will move around. I'm going to ask you questions. So this is the amendment that happened 2021. Can you see 2021 written on the screen? Jan 2021. And on page number 9, can you read Jan 2021? It is 22nd January 2021. It is this amendment. Please, you can make a fold on this paper or make a tick mark. This is the watershed moment. Where, what did the government say? Basis the data analysis. They said, and I have summarized this ahead, I call it CSR 2.0. CSR became mandatory. I call it CSR 2.0 because the data was showing that they were just passing it, many of them were passing money to their NGO, their foundations, and it was not going further and being reported as spent. So they said either you spend it by 31st or you give it to us. If you have an ongoing project, I will give you 3 years more to spend it. Those are called ongoing projects. You can write down the word ongoing project, and that ongoing project is actually defined in the same amendment. If you turn to page, I will just tell you page. Ongoing project is on page number 10. Look at, I think Radha, my student, is there. So she's done the course. Radha will help me. This is page number 10, which is just the 10I. So it is like the clause 2I, ongoing projects. The ongoing project means that if I have got 100 rupees budget for a year, and I have allocated all 100 rupees into projects, but I can spend only 80 rupees and 20 rupees is still lying with me. Now it says that this 20 rupees you can put into an unspent CSRA account as of 1st of April, and then the government says I will give you 3 years to spend this money. But if out of this 100 rupees, 20 rupees is not even allocated, then it means your intention is not to spend. So the government says, okay, fine. You give me a utilization of 80 rupees and 20 rupees you deposit to one of the Schedule VII funds. Which are those funds? Those funds are mentioned over here also, if you see. If you see the funds over here, those are the funds. PM Capable, box number 5. Those are the funds. They're all part of the presentation that you have. Now are we getting the picture? What happened? What happened in 2021? Yes, please. I will halt for questions periodically after every 15 minutes. What happened is that the government said that I am going to then make these amendments because eventually if you are eligible to do CSR because you were making so many profits, just doing musical chair is not doing anything. You better spend it. And you show me that you have spent it through a CA UDIN certificate. How many of you know what is the full form of UDIN? What is a UDIN full form? Yes, please write down unique document identification number. Every CA has to give that for every UC that they give, utilization certificate, and that unique number they have to generate through their license from the portal where this CA is registered. And if I as an NGO get a UDIN for my project's report, and if you are the donor, you can go to the ICAI portal and check whether this UDIN is a fraud or a genuine one. If it's a fraud, the CA will lose the license. So when I'm teaching the CAs or I'm conducting my sessions with the chartered accountants, I'm telling them, please, for God's sake. Many of them are asking me, sir, we want to do CSR. I asked those CAs in my course, how many of you do audits of businesses? Everybody is raising hand. How many of you do audits of the NGOs? Few raised, but many still did. I asked, how many of you are doing audits of your businesses accounts who are also doing CSR? And there was a mix. But most of them I found are not knowing Section 135. Seasoned chartered accountants. So I told them, if you can understand CSR audits, don't you think your business turnover can increase? This is business development for you as a chartered accountant also. Provided you understand the rules of the game. So at 2021, this major change happened, and some of those changes I have highlighted over here, and I will pause after that because I'm going up and down, and these are some of the changes which have been highlighted over here. The role of the CFO became very important. The CFO, they said that whatever is the budget, the CFO has to certify. And whatever is the utilization, the CFO will certify. So the CFO came in between the board and the head CSR. Earlier what was happening was there was a board, there was a CSR committee, and there was a head CSR. The CFO's role was not very clear. The CFO's role became very clear, and they said that you will tell the budget, and you will audit, and you will confirm the spending. Otherwise you are gone. So now the CFO has become very, very powerful in that sense. So sensitizing the board members, the board committee members, and the CFO is very, very important. And for NGOs to understand this is even more important because whatever you ask for in terms of project proposals has to go through this screening. Now, I will stop here for a while, and I would like to take a few questions or any points of views that may be coming across in your mind. Because we are at 12:07, we have about an hour more to go. I'll go step by step. So any thoughts, any points to be shared?
Yeah. The question that I have is, suppose the company is transferring 100 rupees to the implementing agency for a particular project. And incidentally, for whatever reasons, only 80 rupees could be spent within the financial year. The 20 rupees still remains with the implementation. For the company, is it considered as spent or? Okay.
So that is where we are saying, do not give the 100 rupees upfront. Because there is a gray area there, because at the end of 31st March, if 20 is still lying with the NGO, and the NGO is not able to give a UC, it means it is not spent. So many people are interpreting it that NGO should give the money back, the company should put it into their unspent CSR account and then give it to them. I try and say that don't do that. Because it is money to be spent, and if the NGO is giving valid reasons of deployment, maybe they have already booked in vendor accounts, get that affidavit from them, give a no cost extension, take a commitment in writing, and report it accordingly, because the reporting format has a provision where you can say some of these things, but do not do this shuffling, because again what is happening is a lot of CAs and the CSs are saying, take the money back, put it into unspent CSR account and then give it back to them. I said, what is the point if the end goal is to spend the money? But if the NGO is not delivering and you are scared, then you have every right to take it back and redeploy the money. Because if you are reporting it as allocated, then you must spend it also. Otherwise, why did you allocate it? Government says, if you don't allocate it, give it to me. That is leading to something very, very interesting. There is a section 135(7) where there is a penalty. And when you register in the Lakshya account today, I will share those details also. There are penalties being imposed on companies and the directors under section 135(7). You can make a note. Section 135(7), you can see, I will tell you page number over here. You should keep reading these key ones also, which I'm highlighting. This is page number 4, bullet number 7. And it clearly says that if a company contravenes the provisions of sections 135(5) and 135(6), then they can be having a penalty under clause 135(7). Here, in some cases, there is a company which I will share a government order, ROC order. It is on my MCA website. It is for public consumption. A company has defaulted about, I think 50 lakhs or something, or whatever. Let's say it is 100 rupees. Then the penalty that it is paying is 115 rupees. More than the fund that it was supposed to deploy, because the directors were sleeping. They didn't do the unspent TRA shifting. They didn't put back the money into the government account. So somewhere when I'm consulting and guiding companies, I'm finding that there is often a gap between, because all directors are liable today. So the head CSR and the CFO have a critical role to play. If they do not, so what I tell them is, and I've mentioned this in my slide, every quarter, the CFO, the head CSR, the chartered accountant, and the company secretary should sit together every quarter when you're also discussing the business quarterly reports. Also look at the monitoring of the CSR rollout. Otherwise, you will find it very, very difficult. So I was taking few questions, yes. Did you get your answer? Okay.
So related question. I'm an organization which is taking CSR funds, and I've engaged another partner to execute It may be a startup, it may be a technology provider. It's a for-profit organization, and there is a delay in that execution by the technical partner. So therefore, I do not want to pay as per the milestones, and I can't utilize the funds within the time period. What happens? Do I return it?
So first of all, did you, when you were submitting your proposal and the MOU was signed with the donor, have you mentioned the name of the vendor or the technical partner very clearly in the MOU? You've mentioned, huh? Now, if they are not able to do it, so there is a delay, eventually the buck stops at you, the NGO. Because for the corporate, you are the MOU holder. You have to give me the UDIN. Either you change the agency, hire another consultant and get it done. Because if you don't do it, then you are on the red also. And in fact, because of you, the corporate can be in the red as far as utilization is concerned. So therefore, quarter on quarter, take a call. Q1 end, are we on track? Q2 end, are we on track? Suddenly don't wake up on 30th of March and say that I was supposed to go to Chennai and I'm reaching Mumbai. My God, what's going to happen? Then you are sleeping. 80% time this is happening. I'm telling you this is happening. The reason is that people are not alert. Yes.
My question is relating to, I attended a session with NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation. They said the purpose for which CSR funds are getting deployed, government is codifying it, and they're saying at least 25% of your CSR responsibility, they recommend that you spend on skill development. Is it statutorily done?
There is no government circular like that. NSDC may be wanting to say that because they want more funds, maybe their National Skill Development Fund, they have NSDF, they want more funds. It is up to the board of the company to decide. I keep saying this, and when I was there in government and we were evangelizing, and I still do that, we traveled the length and breadth of the country. It is not a tax. A tax is something that you're compelled to pay basis your income. But this is because of your income and profits. It is your shareholders who own that money. So who's the trustee of the shareholder money? The board of the company. Therefore, the CSR committee of the board also has a third party like an independent director. If you are required, if you see the law, look at bullet number 1. Go to page number 3, bullet number 1, section 135(1). Just read that. This is page number 1. Section 135(1), and look at the green color. Provided you are required to have an independent director, otherwise 2 directors are fine. The independent director is like a third umpire. So it is an amazingly developed act. I cannot tell you the kind of midnight oil that we burnt from 2012 to 17 to make so many checks and balances within the act. Yes, as long as you are registered under the Companies Act, yes, and you fall under these criteria that I showed, those things all kick in. So, you may decide as a corporate that we are an education company or we are a labor or a skilling company. Then we may say that 25% of our CSR budget we would like to allocate for developing this ecosystem, but you cannot directly hire those people. Otherwise, it will become an HR activity. But you can put them into the ecosystem of HR skilling. Like suppose Tata Motors is there and they train truck drivers. Now Tata Motors cannot just go and hire all of them. But they can release, I tell them what you can do is, do a job fair for truck drivers. Call Ashok Leyland, call Volvo, call this, call that, call Mahindra, call Tata, and be also there. Now the choice should be on the beneficiary or the learner whom to go to. Then if they come to you and you document it well, then nobody can question you. Yes, there was somebody raising on this side.
It's regarding the nature of the funds, FCRA and local. Will you be touching later or shall I? FCRA or local funds? No, there is a dispute. If a multinational company earlier registered in India, earlier it was a 50% shares are held by it. Now is amendment, then if it is registered in India, it is local fund.
Yes, exactly. So the key point on FCRA is the source of funds. What is the source of fund? And like you have companies like IBM, like Cisco, like a lot of these techie companies who are global companies. right? But they have Indian subsidiaries. Now, the FCRA piece on this is again, it's a separate chapter altogether. But what I will say as a matter of principle is this, that if your income is from India and you're registered under the Companies Act, and if you fall under this bracket of eligibility, then it has to be an Indian rupee funding as per CSR. Right? Now, earlier there used to be, before 2016 or around 2017-18, that all of these foreign companies wanted to give their CSR money to FCRA accounts. But that changed. There was an amendment. And I will come back to you with more details on that. Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. It's a very educated. My name is Kanuswamy. I'm a chartered accountant. I was 40 in the Middle East. I came here specifically for the society and not for self. I have two observations to you. Presently, I work with IIT Chennai for connecting the regional transport office, all India basis, with the insurance companies, because for them to allocate the funds towards the prevention of accidents or promotion of more visibility. And for example, speed breakers and all. You know, UP is the highest high accident death rates, followed by Tamil Nadu. I just want you to suggest that if you could, I can prepare to voluntarily work without any remuneration. I can come to Delhi for your flight, free of flight, may cost. I want to promote this for the benefit of the entire India society, sir, on bringing down the accident and using this insurance company CSR fund, by which the accident will come down, the insurance premium will effectively come down, motor claims will come down. That is one. Second is, sir, of the two, yes, one. Second is that I would like to join your course because I'm a voluntary worker presently, but I would like to be, I think I can contribute more by education, by learning from you. Sir, second is, I want a part of the fund, of the 2%, of the 10% or 2% or so, to go for the unknown societies. For example, if I'm an organization, sir, I do a local development, all goes to this one, and it is very selfishness. Sure. So what I'll tell you my experience, sir. I'll tell you my experience because it will be useful to you for this one. I was actually, during the Ramadan, I used to pay 3% of profit to the Muslims there when I was in the Middle East, zakat. But I used to know, without knowing, even today, when somebody sends me a request, unknown people, sir. So I think there is a corporate responsibility here where they are selfish. For example, if I have a housemaid, I'll take care of housemaid child, use her tuition fees because she will do better work for me. All this little for selfishness and self-centeredness should be overcome. And I want 10% of the 2% to go for a particular fund. Maybe it is a terrorism fund, or it can be this fund, that fund, where it goes to the unknown identifications.
So to your first suggestion, happy to so IIT Madras could organize a session. And I'll be happy to assist in any way, because if the insurance companies can come forward, it's a great idea. And if an IIT Madras, which is a Government of India institution and an institution of excellence, and IIT Madras gets covered under under Schedule 9, Schedule 7, bullet number 9B, under the institutions, you can also get CSR funds for that. No, so we'll discuss that. Absolutely. As far as your 10% of the 2% is concerned, you can send me a mail with your, because I work very closely with the ICAI, the Institute of Chartered Accountants. Often the MCA consults the ICAI for recommendations. We can send some as recommendations. I will share an online form. Please share your recommendations also. Since I'm an advisor to the institute as well, if you ask my personal opinion, there is a less chance of it getting passed, because if it is unstructured and it is like CSR is not philanthropy. So corporates are free to do a philanthropy. For example, one of my clients is HCL Foundation, right? So there is a Shiv Nadar Foundation. There is a Nazim Premji Foundation, right? There is a Mahindra Foundation. There is a Tata Trust. So they are philanthropies of the promoters. But if these promoters have a company and that company is eligible, it then comes under Section 135. So the promoters' philanthropy is covered under 12A ATG and not Form CSR 1. I hope all the NGOs have got Form CSR 1 here. Only then you will get CSR money. But when they do CSR, like an HCL Tech Foundation, which is a trust, then it has to comply to the law. Now, the law is about spending and measuring that spending against the commitments. So if you do a Dan Patra kind of a thing, the problem is going to be that how do you monitor that spending? And what was the need assessment? What is the utilization? Where is the audits coming in? Because the owner of this money is not taxpayer, the owner of this money is the shareholder. So there is a fundamental contradiction, I would say, because if you go back to the letter and spirit of the law, it says that if you are an eligible company because you were making so many profit, then therefore you need to contribute to nation building, and these Schedule VII activities are the list of required activities. So there is a reason behind all of this, and that is what I'm trying to explain to you, the Aadhaar. Nothing is random here. Nothing is random. No, there is, this is like when you're submitting the MCA 21 reporting, there is MCA 21. Are you aware of MCA 21? That's the reporting format. The company secretaries do it. The ROCs will get the red flags and the notices will come to you if you make a wrong submission. There are cases where the head CSR has made the right submission and the company secretary has filled the information in the wrong box and the scrutiny notice has come. So that there has to be due diligence exercise at every level. Yes, any questions at the back there? Yes, Kaza.
My question is regarding let's say the scenario is around March 31st. It's an ongoing project. The NGO suddenly declares that there is some amount of fund left with them. So while they have a MOU with the organization, there is a lot of, I would say, discussion, debate saying that no, they should completely exhaust that money because they cannot transfer it to, or they cannot carry it forward to the next year. So what's your take on that?
My take, as I just mentioned, Ghazal, is very clear that as a grant giver, please do your deep level of due diligence on the deployment of that fund. Because if the fund is under deployment, or is the fund under savings? If the fund is under deployment validated by enough proof, then I will have some paperwork to do a no-cost extension. And say that if I take the money back, and then I give it back, suppose it takes 2 months, how do I pay the salary on the deployment? My people may leave the job in the NGO, then I may be defeating the end goal. By complying, I may be defeating the end goal of compliance. The interim compliance should not defeat the end goal of compliance, which often I find that the CAs and the CSs are hell-bent on doing because they are not understanding CSR. The purpose is not to stop it. The purpose is to ensure the end goal is achieved. Are you getting what I'm saying? All of you here? Yes or no? Okay, so any question from that side? Because then I'll go to the next part. We have limited time. Yes, any questions from here? Okay, one more question I'll take.
So good morning. So we are doing a lot of small infra projects. I am from TVS, SST. And during the process, we are giving advances to the contractors. Suppose if we undertake some projects in the fag end of the March, so the total project cost is almost 40 lakhs. In such case, we are going to give 15 lakhs as advance on 20th March. Whether this will qualify for deduction or not.
My first question is, why are you doing it on 21st of March? No, so that is what I'm saying. Synchronizing your grant to the financial year cycle is critical. When we are making a big grant or maybe a big payment on 20th of March, we are getting into danger zone. We are getting into danger zone. We are going into the zone where the CAs will get hyperactive, or whether the assessing officers of the ROCs will get hyperactive. Why do we want to do, there's in Hindi, "Aab el mujhe maar." I don't know if you understand. "Aab el mujhe maar" is you're telling the bull to come and hit you. Why do we do that? Is what I'm saying. Now still, if you still have to do it, make sure that, is the vendor saying that will the complete activity be done by 31st or no? Then my recommendation to you would be, don't make a payment on 20th of March, hold on till 31st of March, put this rupees into unspent CSRA account, and then pay the vendor. Because it needs to be tracked by the MCA that you are allocating it for an ongoing, convert it into an ongoing project. What is the panic to do it by 31st and do it wrongly? When the government is saying, I'm giving you 1+3, then why are you creating a panic for yourself? So there are two things that you are doing wrongly over here. One is maybe you are not synchronizing your grant cycle to the financial year cycle. And second is, when the government is giving you the provision of an ongoing project, why are you not exercising that provision? So in my assessment of what I'm hearing from you, maybe within your financial system of TVS Foundation or whatever, there may be a lack of understanding of the provision and the elbow room that the law is giving you. Because you may be doing good work, but because of lack of interpretation, you may get yourself into a difficult, tricky situation and then spend more time on compliance dealing rather than on impact dealing. So I keep saying to everybody, focus on the compliance and then forget it. For example, because I'm a sports coach, I'm a squash player and I coach people on squash, but I'll use the example of cricket because I think Chennai is a cricket mad area with IPL and all. Tell me one thing, and Dhoni is a very, very popular guy here. Tell me, Dhoni is a wicket keeper. Now, if he's a good wicket keeper, in his sheer imagination, will he be able to picturize the wickets, even if his eyes are closed? Yes or no? And where should he sit and what are the rules? Or if, example, if I'm a bowler, and I know that if my front foot crosses the front line, then it will be a no ball. Then every time when I'm coming to bowl, am I counting my steps and then focusing here, or I am focusing on the batsman? Where should my focus be? On the impact? Because this crease is the compliance. Crease is the compliance. So in my practice, I will practice and take a run-up of so many steps that I don't have to count it. Because this is natural and this is compliance. It should come natural. And my focus should be to get the batsman out. My focus should be to get the child good education. My focus should be to get the youth into a job. It is when we make this mistake because of lack of preparation that we are stuck up in this. And then the umpire says no ball. ROC says scrutiny notice. So the umpire is the ROC. I keep giving this simile so that you can imagine. It is all very similar. Okay, so now I'll go to the next part where I co-authored a paper, Emerging CSR Scenario, 10 years ago with Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, who was there as the Director General. I will like to share that paper with all of you as well. Just make a note again. Emerging, the top over there you can see, Emerging CSR Scenario in India. I want each one of you to read this paper and then see where we are today. And you will find that when it all began, the whole idea was, as I was explaining to you, the entire thought process was, I'm not going into reading all of this because it is already there with you and I've already summarized. The entire thought process was, how can business success during the 1990s when liberalization happened, can that business success be translated into social development in the country by this 2% formula for the eligible companies? And that is why this section 135 was embedded. I want you to understand this Aadhaar. And if you go ahead, you will find this is what the law envisaged. It said that we need to have vehicles to do it. So there could be a trust, a society, or a Section 8 company. Now, how many of you are trusts over here? How many of you are 1860 societies or state societies? So societies which are registered in the state. I'm not seeing too many hands. How many of you have read the constitution of your NGOs? How many of you are from NGOs? Let me see. Raise your hands. Have you read the constitution of your NGO? If you haven't, then you are in further danger zone. You have to understand that as per your constitution, you are permitted to do certain activities. Please understand that. And then Section 7, so Schedule 7 gives you those list of activities. We need to know those activities. Then if you see, the law says 1, 2, 3 and 4 are the type of entities who can do CSR. They all must have CSR 1, 12A or 1023C and 80G. CSR Form 1 is all required. But number 3 and number 4 are government entities. Number 3 could be a central government NGO like the IICA. Number 4 can be a parliament or state legislature NGO. like the Institute of Chartered Accountants or a Company Secretary Institute. Number 2 is external NGOs with minimum 3 years of income tax filing in similar activities. And number 1 is a company foundation, which need not be 3 years old. So this is very important. And these all 1, 2, 3, 4 are activities route if you see. If you can't read it, you can see it on your phones, this whole presentation if you've downloaded. Activities route means projects have to be done for these funds, for these, by these entities, which could be a trust, society or a company. Number 5 and 6 are contributions routes. These are the ones where you can give the money to PM CARES, PM Relief Fund, Swachh Bharat Kosh, Clean Ganga Fund, etc., etc. And number 6 is the R&Ds, the incubators, the IITs, etc., that can get the monies under this particular clause. And these are the detailed list of activities, which is the Schedule 7. All of these are part of this book. All of these are part of this book. Is that clear? Now, when I come to this point, I've already told you about high-level committee. It gave these recommendations, and these are the recommendations that led to the amendment of January 21, which I told you. When this amendment happened, and after that, there has been a sea change, and Mr. Krishnaswamy was showing in his data how the spending has increased after that. Because now it became very clear that you have to either spend it or give it to government. And giving it to government is also spending, shown as spending, because you're giving it to the PM CARES. Then you leave it to government how to spend it. You can't control after that. What also happened was that NGOs became partners in compliance. It meant that NGOs had to understand the legislation. Merely being good in your sector is not enough. You need to know the nuances of the CSR mandate. If you don't understand that, the donor or the grant giver will not be confident. They may not want to give you money because there is a huge compliance burden on them. Primarily, which is that compliance burden? Section 135(7). Have you highlighted Section 135(7), which refers to Sections 135(5) and 135(6). Please read them very carefully. Very, very important. 135(5) says, if you can't even allocate, give it to the government in 6 months. And 135(6) says, if you have ongoing projects, I will give you 3 years more. Why also you need to understand this is, when you are writing your proposals for funding, you must not put in a cost which you cannot spend within the financial year. You must not be disproportionate in your grant writing proposal, because if I am the evaluator, I evaluate NGO projects also. I guide corporates on proposal evaluations. And by merely reading the cost sheet, I can tell the corporate, please leave this NGO. They have not done the homework. If you give it your money, you are risking your compliance. I give them that very clear signal. I tell the corporate, if you still want to work with this NGO because the leader is a good guy, they seem to have a good team, spend some money to capacity build this NGO. Because they seem to be having good intent, but they are not good in compliance. Let's be very clear about it. The mere cost sheet can tell as to whether they are understanding, and the Gantt chart as to how the monies will utilize and the rollout will happen. Also, what happened was, if you see the last two ones, this one and this one, government has become very active. When the law came, corporates had to do it. NGOs were very happy. Government said, you have to do it. And they were not very keen on actively participating. And the politicians were totally not aware what's going to happen. Now when I'm engaging, I'm finding last 4-5 years, the district collectors in district, as you also said, the district collectors are getting very active. Some of them on the wrong side also, by pushing and pressurizing you. But there is one way by which you can counter the pressure. If you have your annual action plan on your website and the district collector pressurizes you, you can say, sir or ma'am, this is my policy, this is my plan. Please tell me should I break the law? Please give it to me on your letterhead. Mr. Pant, please break the law and give me so much of money, sir, I'll give it to you. They will not give you anything. How can I give it to you, sir? It is there in my... So try to preempt bullying. You are a sitting duck because you're not ready. And then you cry foul. That so many member of parliament has called me up to give money to their NGO. Well, if the member of parliament does that, you show them that policy framework. Also, when you're preparing your annual action plan in the third quarter and fourth quarter, you can release a public notice and tell the member of parliament, the Zilla Panchayat head, the DC, that I am calling a consultation for public hearing. Can you please depute your person or come and tell me your requirement? Consult them in the process of developing the annual action plan and again preempt any pressure. You have to outsmart anybody from the system who will bully you. They will bully you when you are not prepared. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Yes or no? Any counter question? I'm going to stop here. Any counter question to this? Because many of you face pressure, I know. I've also faced. And I've been very candid. And I've told them, sir or ma'am, I want to work with you. Would you like me to lose my job? No, we don't want that. Then please tell me, how do I do it? Asha then say, okay, show me the papers. Because they don't know and you don't know. They are firing some buffer and you are kind of shielding. You have to have a strategy where you have multi-stakeholder engagement. CSR is a lot about strategy. And if you are able to take the system with you, let me tell you, they will support you in your business. And that is the business case to CSR. Eventually, corporates who have done good, intelligent, strategic, CSR are the ones whose businesses have grown. And their CSR budgets have also then grown. Many corporates first start CSR in the new geography and then the business comes in. Because then they have already developed a relationship with the government. And then they get all the clearances, single window clearances for their business, which is perfectly justified. Why can't we use it as a tool? That again needs to be understood. Now, these were the 5 mega trends that happened. And if you see here, this year marks I'm calling it CSR 3.0 now. Why? Because this is G20 time as well. Also, in the decade of action, there is a decade of action 2020 to 2030 of achieving sustainable development goals. SDG goals, there is a target date of 2030 and we are running behind the target, more so because COVID has derailed the economies those 2 years. Recoveries are taking place, but the derailment has been huge. So can we use CSR, if you see the kind of stuff that I've written, green growth, they are talking about inclusive growth, acceleration to SDGs, technological transformation, women-led development. Some key areas that we are looking at are how we can have CSR where, for example, women-led development. So corporates now would like you to submit proposals which are driven by women. Understand the lay of the land when you're doing fundraising also. Because eventually, if you know what the corporate is required to do, then they will be more willing for you. So be more strategic. And for corporates, I would say, you need to also hear what's happening as part of the larger policy framework of Government of India. So this year marks a very important point where, because of the slackening SDGs and because of the economic slowdown and crisis, CSR has another great opportunity to help us achieve the sustainable development goals. These couple of slides try to capture this particular element. Here actually I've tried to show some data which, I will come back to you after a little while, and there is a case study also which I will show you towards the end. But I will halt here at CSR 3.0 and again like to hear some questions from all of you or any inputs. Are you getting a sense as to how CSR began 10 years ago? And then there is a mandate. There are high-level committees which are coming in. Those committees have evaluated basis data analysis. Then there are amendments coming in. And basis those amendments, the corporate spending has evolved. And as that spending has evolved, if my strategy should also evolve accordingly, whether I'm an NGO or a corporate. So if you see a good corporate, they have also revised their CSR policies after the amendment of January 2021. It is very, very important for us to keep this in mind. You want to say something?
No, anybody wants some mic?
Yeah, because I would like to now halt for a little while, maybe 10 minutes, and let me hear.
So,
While you're stopping. Yes.
I have one, sir, because I was actively involved in this 2021 COVID, sir.
Yes.
I was actually involved in 2021 COVID, supplying various foodstuff, biscuits, all those things, this one. I saw when a couple of corporates gave me their products, I saw the expiry date within the December, April 22, this one. Yeah. Now, I had a suspicion whether they are trying to send me all the commodities, debiting CSR account, because he was mentioning about only checks are allowed. But as a corporate, if I want to contribute, be involved in CSR and giving my products, how do we track it, whether it is going to be by check or by corporate commodity being given and capitalized?
So page number 25
Okay.
is FAQs here. Radha, can you quickly help us find out there is a particular FAQ which tells about CSR is about money spending. CSR is about money spending. There is a frequently asked question and there is an answer over here. I would like you to open and read it for yourself. I will not give the answer. I want you also to learn. There is an answer over here to your question, sir. Okay? Any other question
Anybody
here?
else?
Yes, please. You can give the mic. You can also tell where are you from so that your name and where are you from. That will be helpful.
I'm Arjun. I'm from Carborundum, part of Murugappa Group. So I think when CSR came in 2013, one of the intention of the government to spend in and around where we operate. I think that's the basis we have been developing policies and we have been doing projects in and around the area where we operate. But once this 2021 mandatory spend come into effect, whether the government's intention is to move from that aspect to maybe a wider thing, because...
So there is another FAQ on this which talks about that 3.9, open 3.9, page 32. It says that it is only indicative. You can spend it anywhere, any part of the geography of India.
I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
Whether there is a change in government's thinking is my point.
No, so the government wants to re-emphasize that because when you are in a particular geography, and that was meant more for manufacturing companies.
Right, we are a manufacturing
In
entity.
IT companies, you could be in Chennai and you could be making a software for somebody in any other part of the country or the world. So the law very clearly says within the limit of the geography of India, you need to spend, except sports. There are one exemption is given for sports training for national, international, Olympics, etc. You can send people abroad and you can bill it outside because it is an exemption given if you can again read the rules. So those are exemptions, but preferably is again indicative. The board needs to take a call.
Yes.
What generally a lot of good companies do is, they say that 60% we will do in our area, and 40% we will do for nation building as per government guidelines or larger needs in the country. Okay.
Yeah. One more suggestion I think wanted to tell the forum is, as far as this ongoing project is concerned, I think once you approve a project, you have to tell whether it is going to be an one-time project or an ongoing project at the initial stage. Maybe in January or February, I think it's worthwhile to see whether that one-time project is going to be an ongoing project. Because if you go to March, again, you have to go to the CSR committee.
January is too late, my dear friend.
Yeah.
So if you release the money in April, that's why I say don't release the money in October, first tranche. First tranche release in April, so that by September you know whether you are going on the right track or not. It is when you are releasing the first time money in July. Suppose you're releasing in July, then you say it is till June next year. And therefore, from day one, call it an ongoing project and the initial tranche only release money till 31st March utilization capability and bandwidth of the NGO. Please make the right assessment. If you don't make the right assessment, and the NGOs should not be greedy and ask more money. You're going to get into tax problems, NGOs. Because you have to understand that you must be able to spend that money. It's a fine balance. You got it? Right. Okay. All right. Any more questions here? Any feedbacks? Any suggestions? Should I do some surprise questions? I can see a lot of young people sitting over here. Should I come around like a school, college professor? I'm going to ask some blind questions now because you people are not saying anything. Who will try to say something? Okay, all right. Okay, ma'am, yes. I'm going to ask one of you a question over here. Just brace up.
Hi, Nikhil. Nikhil, I just want to know about, again, the unspent amount. We have signed with an organization for a 4-year project where we found at the end of the financial year.
One second. Where are you from and your name, please?
Khatija, you remember me, I
Khadija.
guess.
Sorry, I didn't see you. HCL Foundation, huh?
No, now I'm working in Atos Sintel Prayas Foundation, which is another IT company.
Okay.
No, we have signed up with an organization for 4 years project. So where we identified that they couldn't able to spend 5 lakh rupees at the end of the financial year.
Yeah.
So since it's an ongoing project, so the next year we have to release a tranche in the month of April. So can we deduct that amount, and is there a way to release?
So, when did you sign the project?
It's last year, 2020.
No, which month?
In April only.
And you gave them funds for 1 year only?
Yes, yes.
And
It's a one tranche. That's
So one tranche you gave
Yes,
everything.
yes.
Did they complete the money by 31st?
No, there was 5 lakhs unspent.
So that's the first mistake you did.
Yes.
Never give the entire money in the first tranche. Yes, maybe 50, 40, 10. Maybe 40, 40, 20. Because when you do the first tranche, please gauge their capacity to return the UC in the given committed time. Because the moment you give all the money, then you are the beggar and they are the bosses.
Usually I'm facing that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not generalizing
Are you
all the
understanding what I'm
NGOs.
saying? Please, this is very, very critical. If you are giving grant, please make sure and they will say, okay, no, give us everything because they want to earn some interest, but then the interest also has to be spent because that's surplus. Surplus as per CSR law is required to be spent. And in fact, I have got this chart. You can open this chart. We will spend some time on this because this is a crucial chart. Acha, that PDF is not here in this one? Mr. Krishna Swami? Or maybe it's there. Wasn't it there, that chart, Excel chart? Is or not in this one, huh? Acha, it is there in the book there. Okay, in the book you can open that Excel chart. So they have 5 lakh remaining and the year has ended, huh? So technically that is not spent money. So have you taken it back or you've done a no-cost extension?
No,
Or you've called it an ongoing project?
So what we did is for the second year we have to release another tranche. So we have deducted that 5 lakhs and have given the remaining amount.
So you're kind of mixing up the two actually. So because you have to report for that particular year.
Yes.
Each year reporting is separate. Okay, so I will discuss this with you how to do it because for that year, out of 100, they've spent 95 and you've given them 100.
Yes.
Now, if you could have given them a no-cost extension to first complete that money which is already there.
Okay.
And then give the next tranche from this year.
Okay.
That is a better. Yeah. Yeah, yes. You cannot because you need to. So am I aligning with your thought, Ghazal?
Yes, yes. So you cannot give them, as far as I understand, from
No,
the second
cannot.
tranche. You
No,
can't.
you cannot because that hisab has to be cleared
Yes,
first.
yes.
And therefore be very careful, Khadija, not to give more money. Even if you know the NGO. See, spending with honesty is the most difficult thing. I'm telling you. With proper vouchering, with proper... See, there are 3 key pillars of CSR. Time, work and money. You just write it down. Time, work and money. This is monitoring and evaluation. You don't need to do a PhD studies in social sciences.
So Nikhil, in this scenario, the only option is to give them a no-cost extension and report it to the board and cover it, right?
Exactly. You have to give them a no-cost extension, and also when you're submitting your MCA 21 filing in form CSR 2, the forms, the actual reporting format has changed. In fact, that reporting format is again part of this booklet, which has come out in September 2022. So because the time is too tight, these are very technical things, but you will have to do it in the right way and make the right disclosure within your system and to the MC. Otherwise, the red flag auto generation will come to you and it will come to hit you. Please be very careful. unspent because the UC has not come in. So this is where I have a counter view, because I say that if you give them a no cost extension, basis the proof they give that 5 lakhs is under some deployment. So if I am showing that it is under some deployment, no, suppose it is under some deployment and I have given 2 lakhs as advance to a vendor, then how do I give you back that 5 lakhs just because some tick box has to be achieved by you, with the risk of derailing the whole game, and the end game is to spend the money. So just to do it up and down, why to do that? Absolutely. But the money is with the NGO. So that is what I'm saying. You have the choice of a no cost extension. That is the gray area. That is the gray area. See, eventually that's why I was telling you what is the intent of CSR. The intent of CSR is to spend the money and not to take it back. The end goal is that. You made the first mistake of giving all the money. Now, if the NGO is proving that it is under deployment, then you do a no-cost extension and report it to the government. Where are you hiding it? There is a box in Form CSR 2 where it says about deviation. You can mention it. It is not non-compliance. I am saying if you take it back and it derails the project, suppose, then who's responsible, tell me? Are you thinking on those lines or not? Suppose you take the money back, and suppose this taking back money is 5 crores and not 5 lakhs. It is big money, suppose. But the NGO has proved deployment, and there is action to be proved. They submit affidavits, they submit DC letter, they submit everything. How can anybody crucify you, tell me? Your point is, I'm understanding what your point is. Your point is, if you had not given that money, then you could have put it into unspent CSR. But now it is with the NGO and under deployment, I'm saying, with valid proof. Then if I am an implementer, I would not like to return the money because it may derail the project. Suppose I can't pay the salary for the month of April because you've taken the money back and you're not giving it back because your board is now deferred for 3 months. How do I pay my salary for April, tell me? And if all my staff goes away? Does it not derail the project for the sheer sake of some limited compliance? Is the derailment of the project not a bigger non-compliance? Yeah. You can give a no-cost extension is what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah. You will say that you've spent 95 rupees and 5 lakhs you have not spent. It is under allocation. You write it there in the box. In the deviation box. Form CSR 2 open there. I will tell you. We will discuss it. Open Form CSR 2, it is there.
My name is Rajagopalan. I am from Nalanda Way Foundation.
There is Form CSR 2, bullet number 9. Open Form I even remember it. Open Form CSR 2, bullet number 9. I'll give you the answer.
Yeah. I have a question on this extension.
Yeah.
So technically, how long can the extension be given? Is there a time limit for the no-cost extension?
See, it's a temporary arrangement. It is not mentioned in any rule book.
Right.
It's a gray area.
Right.
But if my NGO is able to prove that there is deployment happening, suppose the NGO is running a hospital of cancer patients and somebody may die. And because of this tick box, somebody dies, tell me. Then tell me, who is going to be held accountable? Not necessary. No, the deviation you can mention. No? See, let's not argue on this. I'm telling you, I'm dealing with these live cases with the MCA and I've discussed this because there is a chance that there may be deployment. They have not covered this over here. What they have covered is that if you have money unspent, then you transfer it into unspent. They have not dealt with this specific condition if that unspent is with the NGO. Now they are somewhere assuming that why did you in the first case give it to the NGO? They're assuming that. But the clerk who has written it is not an NGO guy. There is the gap. But on the ground, there is a different reality. How do you deal with it? Okay, so I will explain it to you. Let's not debate this. I am telling you that this is the way this is being done. I'm sharing an industry practice. Yes.
If the corporate is deducting TDS, giving them a...
The corporate should not deduct a TDS. If they are, and if you want to avoid it, please make a note, there is a section 197. Please apply for section nil TDS under section 197. A lot of public sectors do this. I've seen a few corporates also, they do it. And normally that TDS is not 10%, it is 2% that they do. Like a typical vendor deduction. So get your in TDS exemption under section 197. Please make a note. Ask your CA to file this. It's an online form.
If I get the refund, should I spend it on that project or can I keep it for some other project?
The refund will come to you after a year and a half.
Yeah.
But the money that they have deducted, and this is why they should not deduct it, because they will ask you for 100% UC.
When it is already deducted, what should I do about it?
So then you will have to cough up from your cash flows, complete the 100% UC, and then the money that comes back is your reimbursement from income tax department.
Okay,
Just take it that way.
Thank you.
Because then the IT department is reimbursing it to you. In the first place, the corporate should not have deducted it. So if you are getting this, when you're applying, always write in your proposal, we are GST exempted. Take a certificate from CA, no GST on you. Also take a certificate from CA, no TDS applicable on you. But still they will say, give us exemption under section 197. Do this before you get the shocker. Because then the credit happens and you then get the shocker, it is too late. And they will say, we've already submitted it to the government. I have faced this problem and I have figured out the solution. In every piece of compliance, like a game of chess, Vishwanathan Anand is from Chennai only, na? So think 10 steps ahead and plan for now. Because if you think 10 steps ahead, then you may be able to meet that compliance requirement. Yes.
If the implementing agency is an NGO and it is making payments to other third party for getting it done, can they have to deduct TDS? Are they supposed to have GST billing?
Very good question. So suppose 100 rupees is the sanctioned money. Out of that 20 rupees you are giving to a technical partner. Now the technical partner total payout should be 20 rupees only, including the GST. Exactly. Because your budget sanctioned is 100 bucks and your money is 20. So when you are negotiating with the vendor, tell them that you give me a proposal where 20 includes your GST and I will cut your TDS. And that TDS you submit against the 26 AS against the PAN of that vendor. That your CA will... Yeah. So exactly that process, that step and that amount of TDS will be 2% typically, kind of a thing. But if it is a consultant, individual, then it will be now 194J, 10%. Then it will be 10%.
Sir?
115 will wind up. Yes. Yes,
Sir,
please.
I'm Prem Kumar, founder of Bumblebee Trust. The state government has set up an entity. I'm not sure it is a trust or a Section 8 company or something like that. Basically on education, school education related funding, where corporates can go back and fund that particular entity, saying that the government itself becomes an implementation agency. So now the CSR has confusion that whether I should come and give the fund to
Is it under bullet number 3? Is it box number 3?
Yeah, state government vehicle. Yeah.
It is permitted. I will tell you, open CSR rule. This is covered under the CSR rules, and you can rule number 4. I will give you the exact page number, and this is why this is so important. I will tell you the page number exact. Page 11.
Okay.
CSR rule 4. CSR rule 4, clause 1B. Clause 4, 1B on page number 11. Can you please read it aloud? Who can read it? A company established under Section 8 of the Act, or a registered trust or a registered society established by the central government or state government. This is permitted. This is bullet number 3. This is the box number 3 that I have made over there. So, It is a permissible, like the Gujarat CSR authority, the Goa CSR authority. They are, now I will tell you interesting. I'm working with the government of Nagaland and they have an agency called IDAN, Investment and Development Authority of Nagaland. They were taking CSR money. So I spoke to their joint secretary, a senior government IS officer. I said, Mr. Alfred Wilson, but are you a state legislature appointed? Where is that bill? Where is the act? So this was some industry department which had set up. You are non-eligible. And they were receiving money. So I told him, he said, yes, there is something that happened and we are now rectifying it. So it cannot be a departmental entity set up. It has to go through the process of legislature where the opposition can counter you also. So a lot of checks and balances have been done.
My question is, so basically when we go to the basics, as you said, taxpayers' money and the stakeholders' money, right? When the government comes and says, the stakeholders' money, can you give it to me because I am not able to fund enough, things like that. It's not a bit contradicting in terms that
so your
the
point
reason is
that
also, it's an indirect way where a corporate can go and lobby the government saying that I am doing a favor here and, so.
Perfectly valid query. This was an amendment that has happened because lot of government departments do want to collaborate constructively with corporates. And there was no via media. So this came into being through the recommendations of the high-level committee. But again, the board of the company has a choice to give it or not give it. They cannot force you to give it. See, it comes to the intent and the pressure is what I'm saying. Because the pressure could also be that the member of parliament can say, give it to this NGO, which is bullet number 2, but the NGO is the owner is the member of parliament, or the owner could be the district collector's wife. That is wrong. So this entity again is permissible, but the choice is on you. Now, how do you then avoid the pressure? By better planning. You say, sir, all my money is gone. Next year, sir, we'll try and put it, but I'll come back to you for a consultation. Take them with you in such a way that they cannot put pressure on you. It is your prior preparation that will decide it. Does that clear your point? Right? The contradiction remains, I understand. Yes, and again, but let me tell you, most of the corporates, and I work a lot with corporates, are not very keen to give to these entities. But there is a provision. The provision is there, and nobody can force you on that. Any other questions? Any other points? Yes. Because then I'll go to the last piece, which is, there was this data that I had prepared, which I will just quickly cover, and there is this newsletter. If you can open the newsletter in your book. A very important newsletter has come out by the ministry. This is page number 61. This is a very important newsletter, and I am foreseeing new notifications from government in relation to this. So government has a way of working. You should know where the next piece of dice is going to be thrown. Okay? So the newsletter is dated 30th of May, and it is talking about skewed spending. It is talking about, if you look at this data, just look at this data. Northeast has just got 1.4% since 2014 to 2021, where the total CSR spending has been 1,27,618 crores. So this is MCA 21 data. Northeast has just got 1.4%. These 5 states have got 33%, which includes Andhra, Tamil, Karnataka, Karnataka, Tamil, Andhra, and Gujarat. And the major metro cities have again been getting most of it. So a lot of duplication has been happening. So I foresee where somebody said that 10%, and this might just come in, what you are saying. Because this data analysis is again feeding into the government thinking. Having worked in the government, I can tell you this, that it is not always that random. There is a filing system. There is a way by which the next government also, whether of this party or that party, has to go, because somebody can file an RTI and say, how have you done this very random thing? Or somebody can raise a question in parliament. So this is to be kept in mind. And if you see, education has got the major chunk, health 20%, environment, and sectors, others have also, a total of 32,000 something crores has gone towards education, and livelihood sector in this time. So education and livelihood has been huge. So that is why this whole session is about trends. I'm trying to tell all of you to become a bit of a chess player here. I don't know whether it's going to happen, but I'm also a student like we all should be to see how this game is evolving and be ahead of the curve. That is very, very important. Now, last but not the least, if you can open that Excel sheet that you have, it has columns A, B, C, D, E. Now, this is an analysis that has been done personally by me. It compresses all of it into one Excel sheet. If you see column number A, it is the 5% admin expenses that a corporate can keep. Column A includes those activities which are permitted by the law for admin expenses, which include things like corporate governance, annual action plan, CSR policy, etc. Column number B is impact assessment. That has again become mandatory for certain categories of projects and companies from January 21. 2% or 50 lakhs, whichever is higher. Then C, D and E. C is designing of projects, D is implementation, and E is monitoring. Most of you who are NGOs are falling under D, the orange color, and E, the monitoring. So when you're preparing your project proposal, you should know what you can get and from where you can get. And when I'm sharing this because I'm an evaluator. I know what the donor is looking at. So when you're writing your detailed project report, keep this in front of you. And also try and pick these nomenclatures for your line item, cost line items. When you're billing your potential donor, you have to be not only aware, but you must also convey through your DPR nomenclatures that you are aware. The language you are using, the cost heads you are using. That conveys a lot of confidence to the donor. So, what I would now like to ask all of you to do is, can we put that link that I had given you? What is his name? Excuse me. Can you put that link over there? Jo main bola tha? There is a registration form that I'm giving all of you. I will just take them 2 minutes through it because then we are almost done. Yeah. While he's doing it, we have another 5 minutes. If you can on your smartphones, just do me a favor because there are some series of documents and some sessions that we are starting from Lakshya. And again, in partnership, many of them would be with CSR Spark. These are going to be online. What we are trying to do from Lakshya is that every month or every quarter to do a 1-hour live session. Because the courses we conduct, I'm finding that a lot of people come back to me with queries. So maybe every month or maybe every 3 months, I will begin first depending upon the submissions that come in. If you go to the website lakshya.co.in, yes, if you can go to this point and connect. And there is a form called register. Can you just click register? Yes. So here I want you to just fill it up right now in the next 2 minutes. And if you go to the last point, just go right at the bottom. Last question. Go down. Last, you can say, how did you hear about us? Just mention CSR Spark MMA event, Chennai. Just put the date because I need to know where this submission is coming from and it will help us track it. So if you can just fill this up in the next 2 minutes first, and then I'll take your question. Can you just fill this up first? Because I want to do it right now. You can just pull the form, put the form again. Just put it there. If you can just fill this up. No. Lakshya.co.in. Just go back to the connect tab. Go back to the previous tab. Tab. Connect. On the top. Oh, no. That tab next to WhatsApp. Connect Lakshya tab. Yes. This is lakshya.co.in/connect. Double A. I want you to just do this as a quick registration. I want you to submit this and there is a simple form and I will tell you what we plan to do. We will be doing a newsletter and also doing an insight once a month or once a quarter where you'll get a Zoom link. You can participate. There is no fees to it like we are doing with CSR Park. We will also try and go together to different parts of the country, which I am trying to discuss with Mr. Krishnaswamy and to motivate him to generate the right synergy, because the way he's doing in Chennai and Coimbatore. If some of you want to come forward and partner us in this process, you're most welcome, because I think the need is huge. And I'll be very frank, we should do some of the things without expectations of monies, just for the sake of doing good. I'm telling you that your business, whether you are a corporate or you are an NGO, will develop as a corollary. It has happened and it will happen if you are able to generate goodwill. So I've talked about a lot of documents also, which if you once register, those who have registered, if you can just raise your hand and submit the button, you could be able to submit. So one only I can see here right now. I need to see all the hands. 2. Huh? Acha, maybe it's turning a little slow. No, then take 2 minutes. Yes, the time is up, so 3 minutes for them to fill the form. 1:15 you said. So let's just give them 2 minutes, Mr. Krishnaswamy, because we'll finish it. Otherwise they'll get derailed and lose focus when they start hearing you. I'm just giving you 2 more minutes. I'll discuss with you over lunchtime. You're able to log in? I got the submitted also. Achha, you're filling it up. Yeah, almost done. I'll give you at 1:15. No, 1:14. 1 more minute. How many have done it? Can they raise hands, please? Please do it, because I am keen that if I'm coming all the way from Delhi to Chennai, I want to capture your details so that we can be in touch. That is the only reason. And we will initiate certain things that you will get to know very soon. So thank you very much. And I'm passing on the mic to Mr. Krishnaswamy for maybe the vote of thanks.
I do hope you had a nice session, and he can continue right up to the evening also. He's capable of doing it. He's like a... Yes. Yes. Okay. Anyway, thanks for joining in today. And you should appreciate Nikhil, because normally such resource persons, we are supposed to pay them some money, and their fees is there, fee structure is there. But Nikhil was I told Nikhil, this is not being run on a profitable basis, just doing it. He said, Krishnaswamy, whatever you say, I'm there for it. So he just dropped in without asking for any sort of remuneration or any honorarium. He's here with us. And you can be in touch with him. In the book itself, below his profile, you have his phone number as well as his mail ID. You can be in touch with him. And you can also call me whenever you feel like. My number is there in the website, web portal. Now I request Mr. Pandirajan to kindly come over. Can I have the... Nikhil, Please. This is for Nikhil. And I'd like to thank Mr. Pandirajan for staying over for such a long time and presenting the memento to Nikhil. Now, what are we going to do next in the afternoon? Have a lunch. 2 o'clock, we are coming back here. Mr. Ravi will be here. Though it is called the graveyard session, I don't think any of you are going to sleep. He's going to touch upon accounting practices. Very, very experienced person. Coimbatore, imagine it, nobody got up, went out of the hall. And one positive thing I've seen right from morning, nobody has been seen lighting here and there, going out and coming. That's all. So please have your lunch and do come back by 2 o'clock. We'll be ready for the next session. Thank you.